political commentator Chuck Todd and Andrea Cabral and the DOJ's push to absolve January 6 insurrectionists of their convictions.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Beacon Hill legislators want to slash $1 billion from the energy efficiency program MassSave, who gave me free light bulbs. We'll speak with two experts on why the short-term budget savings might mean higher prices for everyone. Then GBH's Jared Bowen stops by with his own drama about the Boston-based movie The Drama. And we'll end with your calls on Am I the A-Hole Recipe Stickler Edition. Are you a jerk if you insist on someone cooking your favorite meal the way you like it? No substitutions? Weigh in next on Boston Public Radio.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Korva Coleman. NPR has learned Israel is planning to enter a temporary ceasefire in Lebanon. Israeli media are reporting the ceasefire could take effect in coming hours. NPR's Daniel Estrin reports from Tel Aviv.
Israel is preparing to enter a temporary ceasefire in Lebanon, according to a person briefed on the matter, not authorized to speak publicly. The person said the Israeli cabinet had met Wednesday to consider a week-long ceasefire in Lebanon. The Israeli newspaper Haaretz is reporting the ceasefire could begin in the coming hours. Israel's military spokesman declined comment to NPR. The U.S. has been encouraging a ceasefire. Israeli and Lebanese ambassadors held rare talks in Washington this week. There's been a month and a half of deadly conflict, with Hezbollah fire on Israel and an Israeli invasion of Lebanon uprooting more than 1 million people, according to Lebanese officials. Daniel Estrin, NPR News, Tel Aviv.
Meanwhile, the U.S. naval blockade of Iranian ports continues. So far, 13 ships have turned around at the direction of the U.S. fleet off the Strait of Hormuz. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, spoke at a Pentagon news conference this morning. He said since the blockade began Monday, ships have made what he says is the wise choice of turning around when confronted.
The joint force, through operations and activities in other areas of responsibility, like the Pacific area of responsibility under the command of Admiral Paparo, will actively pursue any Iranian-flagged vessel or any vessel attempting to provide material support to Iran.
He emphasized the blockade applies to all ships, not just Iranian vessels. A Texas judge has ordered a Christian girls' camp to preserve cabins damaged last summer in a deadly flood that killed 27 people. From member station KUT, Kaylee Hunt reports.
Camp Mystic plans to welcome over 800 campers back this summer, but it will not be able to use cabins or other structures damaged during last July's flooding. Judge Maya Guerra Gamble says these sites need to be preserved, so attorneys for more than a dozen families suing the camp can collect evidence. Here's Brad Beckworth, an attorney for the parents of missing 8-year-old camper Seal Stewart.
We don't know what we don't have, but we know a lot of things were destroyed, may not work, may never be found. That makes the duty to preserve what does exist even more important.
The Stewarts and other families accuse Camp Mystic of negligent behavior during and leading up to the flood, which the camp denies. For NPR News, I'm Kaylee Hunt in Austin.
Virginia authorities say the state's former lieutenant governor, Justin Fairfax, shot and killed his wife and then killed himself. Officials say it stemmed from an ongoing domestic dispute. This is NPR.
Good morning. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. The Berkshire District Attorney has cleared a Hinsdale police officer in the fatal shooting of a man who was having a mental health crisis in January. DA Tim Shagrew says his office pored over body cam footage leading up to the death of 27-year-old Biagio Colville.
I find that Officer Jeffrey Spratt's shooting of Mr. Colville was a lawful use of force in self-defense and a direct response to the discharge of a firearm Mr. Colville possessed.
Colville had reportedly called police himself, and officers forced entry into his room to take him into the hospital. Shagrew acknowledged criticism over how the police handled the situation, including the decision to break down the door, but says those are policy questions, not criminal ones. He also says the family can still bring a civil lawsuit against the department. Boston Mayor Michelle Wu has appointed Rodney Marshall as the city's fire commissioner, making him the first black man to lead the department in the city's nearly 350-year history. Marshall has been with the Boston Fire Department for 35 years, most recently as chief of operations. He's formally being sworn in later this month. He replaces Paul Burke, who has held the position since 2022. Pittsburgh reached the Massachusetts mandatory retirement age of 65 for firefighters this month. In sports, the Red Sox off today. They're back at friendly Fenway tomorrow for a series with the Tigers, and we now know the Celtics are going to be playing the 76ers to start the playoffs. That game is Sunday at the Garden. Cloudy, 70 today, overcast and 50s overnight. It is 60 degrees right now. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Cigna Healthcare. At Cigna Healthcare, they're dedicated to being there through life's everyday and extraordinary health moments. Learn more at Cigna.com/better. This is NPR.
You're listening to BPR on GBH and NEPM. Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're going to be back at the Boston Public Library tomorrow, speaking with the president of the library. We'll also have live music and more, a couple of programming notes. We won't be there on Tuesday because there's post-marathon cleanup, so we will be back at the library on Wednesday. April 28th, we have a twofer. The Governor of the Commonwealth, Maura Healey, is going to join us from 11 to noon. And then the Mayor of Boston, Michelle Wu, will join us from noon to 1. Here is a really exciting announcement. On May 1st, Ken Casey of the Dropkick Murphys is going to be our co-host at the library on Friday, which we're ecstatic
And he's
about.
booking the whole show, and the guests are unbelievable. And by the way, speaking of Ken, I should say, today happens to be the birthday of his mother, who owns Caldera Spa in Dedham, which used to be a sponsor of ours, a wonderful sponsor of ours when we were in commercial radio. So happy birthday to Eileen.
Well, we have another happy birthday to
What's
the
that?
man who has rescued me probably well over 500 times.
Not just
by
you.
now. John Parker, happy birthday,
John.
belated.
We forgot on
yeah,
Friday.
we forgot on
We feel
Friday. So
horrible.
happy birthday today. Yeah.
Okay.
We love John Parker.
So we covered every base. Happy
every
birthday
base.
to Eileen. Happy birthday to John. You know, we try not to start every show depressing you. We'll depress you in about 15 minutes.
That's right.
But there's a stat that should do the trick, though. The average American spends, listen to this, Marjorie, 90,000 hours at work over their lifetime. That's more than 15 years of nonstop labor and all. So in this mess of a world, shouldn't we be able to have as much fun as we can get away with at work without getting in the way of what our jobs are? As you may know, here's a good example. Commercial airline pilots are not average people.
They're not.
High-stress job
High stress.
after years of training. So you might forgive two pilots for a little what we consider to be harmless banter. This is real on the traffic control line in D.C. Right here they are.
You guys need to be professional pilots. Meow, 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 meow. This is why you're still flying RJ.
By the way, RJ meaning regional
jet.
jet. And the meowing and the woofing, the barking is pilots trying to relieve their stress, kind of thing. It has led to an FAA investigation into the two pilots for their unprofessional barking and meowing. And it got us to thinking about the ways, this is for real, big and small, that we all should try to have fun at work, since it's not just a third of our entire lifetime, it's half of all of our waking hours. So the question for you is, should we, I guess like airline pilots, be expected to be buttoned up worker bees while on the clock, no exceptions, or shouldn't we all be allowed a little bit of humor, fun in our work lives, as long as it doesn't interfere with the basic task, which describes your workplace better? And if you're able to have fun at work, and I think it's fair to say we both have a huge amount of fun at work, and we hope our coworkers
why don't you meow
have occasional
for the
fun.
listeners?
Meow, meow, thank you. That's me.
No, you could do your
Topo G
G
show.
Go ahead.
Andy, I love you.
Okay, and that's the kind of fun we're able to have. I'm serious. I would go out of my mind. In the state of the world, you know, work is work, but it could be fun, a huge fun kind of thing at the same time.
Do your Mr. Ed.
Wilbur, open the door. Mr. Ed was a horse on a television show for you young people. So which describes your work situation? A place where you're able to have fun as long as you get your basic work done, or a buttoned-up place like the air traffic controller, one of those pilots to be, a no-fun zone kind of thing. And by the way, do you not agree that if you're going to spend half your waking hours at work, the ability to have a little bit of joy at the damn workplace is a pretty important ingredient to survival, you know?
Let's hear the pilots one more time before we take some calls at
Okay, let's hear 'em.
877-301-8970.
You guys need to be professional times.
You know, by the way, thank you. Okay. Now, in all fairness, before we get started here, if they were flying your plane, we're trying to say
That's
let them
right.
have fun. If they were flying
I'd
your
be a
plane,
little nervous.
you might be a little nervous. Now, and apparently, I don't even know how this happened, by the way. We have on the line Steve Abraham, who's a retired air traffic controller at JFK for nearly 3 decades. And I assume you guys know he's a commentator on ABC News.
Perfect.
I don't even know how he ended up here. Steve, we're thrilled to have you. Welcome to the show.
Happy to be here.
So what's your take on this? Are we off base?
No, you're completely 100% accurate. You know, a little levity reduces tension. The air traffic control tower, pilots flying, it can be a high tension environment. And I'm sure those pilots were in a very non-intense stage of flight. And you know, though the story originates in D.C. and people think that, you know, they're making assumptions that, you know, they were on approach or they were about to land or they were about to take off. Those airplanes could have been at 30,000 feet flying from Tampa to Boston when the pilots really kind of aren't doing much other than monitoring the radio and making sure the airplane's flying on according to the flight management system.
What do you think of the air traffic controller saying this is why you're still flying a regional jet?
So I'm going to tell you that I would bet a large sum of money that wasn't an air traffic controller. That was another pilot.
Oh, you think so?
Okay, so Steve, tell us.
Absolutely.
Did you engage in any hijinks when you were an air traffic controller, Steve?
I engaged in a lot of hijinks as an air traffic controller.
Oh, do tell. One or two.
I have a lot of YouTube hits as under the acronym Kennedy Steve.
Oh.
Because I did engage in hijinks as an air traffic controller, but things to keep in mind. My humor was always when airplanes were on the ground.
Yeah.
Never when they were in the air or when they weren't even moving. You know, you have to pick and choose your spots. You can't make jokes when pilots are taking off. You can't make jokes when pilots are landing. You know, you have to know your audience. And there was never any, you know, commentary that was deleterious to safety, let me put it that way, or efficiency for that matter.
Yeah, we're thrilled you called. This is a perfect way to start this off, and we're fans. Steve, call us again sometime. Thanks so much.
That was a great call.
For getting us going. We
thank
really
you for all
appreciate
those
Steve
years
Abraham.
as an air traffic controller. That is a very, obviously.
And by the way, if you do
stressful
go
job.
to Kennedy Steve, there are a million YouTube videos of Steve Abraham here. By the way, anonymous texter said, and I'm a little offended, there's no way Jim is fun in any way, shape, or form. I'm a modest amount of fun, right?
Do your Topo Gigio again.
Andy, I love you.
Thank you. Well, that is the real whatever. Topo
You're a
Gigio.
better Topo Gigio than that sound. I like your sound better.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We have a little bit more sound of those pilots. That we
Same
should, that we
pilots,
should
by
play,
the way. This
that
is
play for people.
I don't even know if anyone else has gotten this.
No, a little more chaos and
is.
hijinks inside the cockpit. Here it goes.
Cleared for takeoff.
Roger. Huh?
LA departure frequency 123.9er.
Roger. Huh? Request vector. Over. What?
Flight 209er clear for vector 324.
We have clearance, Clarence. Roger, roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Okay, it's Marjorie's juvenile.
That is actually from one of my favorite movies of all
Okay,
time,
fine.
Airplane.
But I want to get back to the subject at hand while Marjorie is luxuriating an airplane sound. Fun at work. I'm serious, by the way. There are a lot of employers who say this is not an appropriate kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it not only helps you in terms of your work, it helps you in terms of your living, particularly in the kind of stressful world we find ourselves in, you know?
I remember when I worked at Boston Magazine, that was a million years ago, you weren't supposed to eat lunch at your desk.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do?
Well,
Go
also,
sit in the,
you know,
go
yeah,
sit in the break
I
room?
hope this is okay to say. Marjorie, when I would say, how did you like, when I met Marjorie and she was working at the Herald, I said, how do you like working there? She says, we're drunk every day at work. It's fabulous. Remember when you told me that for the first time? 877.
We went to J.J. Foley's
I know
every
you
Thursday
did.
night, payday, and it was a wild time at J.J. Foley's.
Okay, let's take some calls. 877-301-8097. This is like a serious topic about fun at work. Kathy in Plymouth, you're first. Hi, welcome.
Hi, Jim and Marjorie. Great to talk with you. I'm
You
a
too.
second-time caller. I listen to you all the time.
Thank you very much.
Listen, you're welcome. Jim, I just wanted to say I think that it's not hard and fast between being a buttoned-up place and having some fun at work and letting some tension go. My brother is a pilot for Delta Airlines, and I have a number of friends that are Delta Airline pilots. And I think they would agree with me in saying that, you absolutely let tension go, have some fun, but just not on the air with traffic control. I mean, we're hearing about all these issues with traffic control and mistakes and how stressful that is. And I really don't think being on the air with traffic control is the appropriate time to break the tension. I mean, I think people do it in the cockpit and other places and with friends, but just not on the air.
Well, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. I thought the meowing and the barking was actually quite. Thank you. There it is, Kathy. Thank you for your
Maybe
your
the
call.
air traffic controller was spying on them.
Well, except you heard what Steve said. It wasn't the air traffic controller at all. It was another
Thought it was
pilot.
another pilot.
Who may. And by the way, that line about regional jet may have just been a little sarcasm from a fellow pilot.
Heatherman from Medford's got a great point. The Artemis II astronauts were having a lot of fun up there on outer space.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, they were joking it up.
They were really joking around.
Remember when they had that flying microphone when they didn't know what to say to President Trump?
Yeah, that only went. The silence was only like for a minute or two, though. 877-301-8097. Where are we going next?
So they've seen the movie Airplane. A little meowing is nothing, and that's true. If you haven't seen it, it's very funny.
Hey, guys, we don't know who's next, so please let
think
us
it's
know.
Kathy, isn't
no,
it?
we just spoke to
We just
Kathy.
spoke to
Yeah,
Kathy.
she
Whoops.
started the show.
Okay.
We'll get there eventually. The lines are working. John in Fairhaven, welcome to the show. Hi.
Hi, John.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Thank you for calling.
I just wanted to say I teach freshman English at a state university, and I work my students very hard. They absolutely put the work in all semester, but I don't see a problem with once a week bringing in my little four-legged teaching assistant to come and say hi and spend some time with them and give them a little bit of joy.
That's great. I love it.
That's
great. You
know, so, tell us about your four-legged teaching assistant. His or her name and
His name is Baxter, and he was supposed to be a mini Schnauzer Maltese mix, but we're thinking now maybe a mini Schnauzer German Shepherd mix.
That's adorable.
He was much bigger than we had expected him to be.
By the way, don't you? I assume the answer to this is yes, but isn't that breaking the action when you bring the dog in? Doesn't that make the whole environment, not just when the dog is there, but the whole environment is a friendlier, warmer, more relaxed, more conducive to learning environment, right?
I have to say, he can be a little distracting at times, but I really only bring him in on days when we're doing pure editing or something like that, or they're doing small group work that I can sort of split my attention. And he really is a very well-behaved little guy. He's only 10 months old, but he's already learning the ropes. My last teaching assistant he was 15 and a half years, and we lost him back in March last year.
Sorry to hear it. Well, I think it's great. I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
Oh, thank you.
No, you sir. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've had so many kids tell me that, they were having a really rough day, and I can definitely see the impact on their energy level, and I can see the impact on just their mood and mental health. They're so much more awake and engaged on days that he's there.
That's great. That's exactly what I expected. John, thanks for the call. By the way, in a corollary tale, Marjorie, when we were at the commercial radio station, one day brought her dog in the weekend.
I did.
And she was turned into the boss by a very high-profile DJ whom you all know, whose name I will not disclose.
Thank you. That's right. I got in trouble.
Should I disclose her name?
No, you should not.
Why not?
You should not.
Okay.
Okay, here's a texter. I work from home, and when it's slow, I'll sneak off for a quick 9 holes of golf. The work does not suffer in any way, and it's fun. Definitely, this is not Kerry in Southborough.
But, and to be serious for a second, we used to have a do not name. Well, actually, I shouldn't get into this story. I mean, there's line crawl. You got to do your job. The primary thing is do your job and do it well.
Yeah.
But beyond that, if you're doing your job well and it makes you happy and it creates happiness around you, then it's critical. By the way, did you read the story? I think it was in the New Yorker about how there was a court, and this is the reverse, a court in France where employers wanted to require that employees engage in fun activities, and the court determined you can't require them to have fun.
I know.
You know?
You know, it's a funny thing.
It's not fun if you're forced to have it. Don't you agree?
No, it is not fun if you're forced to have it.
Well,
I think
thank
people
you.
think they do have to go to functions at the company. Don't you think people think they do have to go to those
No,
things?
I mean, I think when you have to go, you go. And when you don't have to go, you don't go. I mean, I think that's pretty clear in most places.
Was well put, Jim.
That was deep, I thought. Thank you.
Do Wilbur over the door.
Wilbur, open the door. Now, by the way, remember we had Jay Farrow here.
I could listen to that 5,000
Jay Farrow
times.
used to be on Saturday Night Live.
He
and
was
did
a
Bob
riot.
Benner, and I did Wilbur for him, and he was very critical.
He was?
He did it after me. I don't even know if he was alive when Mr. Ed was on. He did it after me, and admittedly, he did it a tad better than I did.
I don't
But he
remember.
didn't even reward my effort.
I was very little during the Wilbur Open the Door days,
Yeah.
but I love that show. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank
Jim.
you. I really appreciate
Derek
that.
from Waltham. Is it Waltham?
Hello, Derek. Hello,
Windsor.
So,
Windsor.
Jim, how are you?
Excellent.
I just want to say I am from the island. I'm from Jamaica.
Yeah.
And we are a fun type of people.
Good.
And America is the first place I came and I heard the word stress. I think too much demand is on the workers here in America. And when you couple that with the pay, it really doesn't add up. It creates more stress between workers and workers. Too much demand for the little pay. And I want to tell you two things. I did a research, and I don't remember what country. I think it's Japan or one of these countries. But they have their workers take nap between work hours. And I'm not saying that should apply here in America, but those countries perform just the same, no less. But they require their worker to take a nap in between work. And from what I understand, it works out quite well with them. The last thing I want to say, World Cup is coming up now. And when I was in Jamaica, a lot of workplaces even have television. And while you're at work working, you didn't take time to stop to watch. You could just watch the World Cup, whether it's cricket or soccer. And that makes for a lot of fun. So you didn't go to work and feel boring because there was some fun in between work. So I think America could adapt some of those, playoff and all that kind of stuff. Let people have a little television that they can watch even in the lunch period.
Derek, you're a great.
You're right.
I love
you are
your
right.
calls,
Americans,
Derek. Thanks.
I mean, aren't we the hardest workers almost anywhere in the world? I mean,
And take the least vacation.
And take the least vacation and have the fewest benefits, et cetera, et cetera. Listen to
You know,
this.
by the way, there's some employers, speaking of, I'm glad you brought up vacation. Well, Derek's touched on it too, brought up vacation. There's some employers, I actually wrote a piece in the Globe about this years ago, that require that employees
your vacation.
take a minimum amount of vacation, even if they don't want to do it, because it introduces, but I'm talking about at the workplace kind of thing.
Right.
I think Derek nailed it, and I think people seem to agree that it's good for life.
Listen to this one from Luke in Auburn for people in the Worcester area or those who wouldn't mind driving there. The Hanover Theater in Worcester, says Luke, is having an airplane live showing.
Oh, my God.
On 10/10, I guess that's October 10th, with a Q&A with Robert Jays and Julie Haggerty that played Ted.
Julie Haggerty is fabulous.
They played Ted Stryker and Elaine Dickinson in the movie.
I remember
Wow.
Julie Haggerty's great.
Luke says he got the email last week and immediately thought I'd got to send this to Jim and Marjorie. Wow. I may have to go to the live showing of Airplane.
Why don't we all go? Why don't we
think we
do a
should go.
remote from the Hanover?
We should
Really?
do a remote from the hangover. And you could do
Not from a hangover.
Hanover.
You might do a
could
remote from a hangover.
Yeah, you could do Topo Gigio and Wilbur for the crowd.
If they asked me to do it, I would do it. By the way, anonymous texter says, I was once locked in my office. Two guys took off their ties and tied my doorknob to a fire extinguisher on the wall. It was hilarious. Now, that reminds at least one of our coworkers of when Jamie pretended to be locked in the men's room here for 4 hours so he could take a break.
Couldn't take it.
To
Couldn't
Jamie,
take it.
that
Another
was
minute.
fun being locked in the. I hope people don't think this is a frivolous topic. I am a huge. We've been together, 27 years we've been doing this thing?
Yes, something like that.
Would you agree that while occasionally we have moments between us, that we have a huge amount of fun, which to me not only makes the work much more enjoyable, but don't you go out into the world with a better attitude when you've had fun at work?
When we had our TV show that nobody watched at
Nobody
NBCN,
watched.
We had a thing on there one day. Remember, with my friend Jan Saragoni.
We had flat.
And I was reprimanded because I could not.
Stop laughing.
Stop laughing.
Yeah. Well, that was not doing your job. I mean, that may have crossed the line. Margie was unable to talk for the whole half-hour show because she thought, was it flat Queen Elizabeth or flat somebody?
We had a flat Bill Clinton.
Oh, Bill Clinton, that's what it was.
Flat Hillary Clinton, one of those cardboard statue
a
things.
flat thing, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what was so funny, but I couldn't stop laughing.
Very unprofessional.
Okay, I've done that a few times.
John in Boston, hello.
Hi, John.
Hello. I have 3 cats. I meow continually. I meow at the gym.
You do.
No one can hear me because they have headphones on. Absolutely.
Well, can you share
Absolutely.
share a little meow for us, if you would?
Meow.
Actually,
Meow.
that is really
John,
high quality.
That's impressive.
I wish you worked
Thank you.
here, John.
Thank
That's
you.
all I can
Okay.
say. John,
Yeah,
thanks.
I'll show up. Give me a job. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Wonderful.
John.
We
Appreciate
should play
it.
the pilots one more time so people can get what we're talking
meow
about.
and the barking?
The meowing pilots. Here they are.
Cleared for takeoff.
You guys need to be professional times.
Meow, 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 meow.
This is why you're still flying RJ.
RJ is short for regional jet, we learned. 877-301-8970. We're talking about the importance of fun at work, assuming you've fulfilled your responsibilities, unlike that show on NECN where Marjorie did not fulfill her responsibilities.
Oh, we have a YouTube poll that
What's
says
that?
you and I should meow and bark on the air. 76% say we should do it.
Yeah, why would we not?
Why don't you go ahead? Give us a meow, Jim.
Well, I can't do a meow, but I can do, Eddie, I love you. Okay, let's go to Bob. Where are you, Bob? You're in Ipswich.
Hi, Bob.
Hello, Bob. Welcome.
Yes, good morning. Good morning.
And
Thanks
to
for
you.
taking my call.
Of course.
First-time caller, long-time listener.
Love that.
Yes, he shouldn't even have a job as a regional jet. I'm a pilot. I'm a private pilot, but I do follow the industry. And there is a rule. I don't know if it's a strict regulation, but it's called sterile cockpit. The airliners usually fly in the 30,000 feet up high, where it's safe to have the jibber jabber amongst the cabin crew. However, when you're below 10,000 feet, there's what they call a sterile cockpit. The only thing you can talk about is what is going on as it relates to controlling the airplane. That's the only thing that can be discussed.
Well, yeah, I hear you. And you're
For example,
go ahead.
For example, if there was an
10
immediate
seconds.
collision, if I can use that example, and if the last thing in the voice recorder was meow, meow.
Well, that would not be good. But Bob, you heard Steve Abraham, who started this whole segment, who was an air traffic controller for 30 years at JFK, and he said there's a place for that. So we hear you, but I'm with Steve. Thanks for the call, Bob. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for the call. Okay, thank you very much for your calls and texts, and Jim for your wonderful imitations of Topo Gigio and Mr. Coming up after this quick break, political analyst Chuck Todd is next. We're going to talk to him about Iran, Trump and the Pope, tax day yesterday, and sports gambling. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy, listening to BPR on GBH and NEPM and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Wilbur, open the door.
I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
I'm Jared Bowen. Coming up on The Culture Show, Kiefer Glenshaw has turned playing the cello into an endurance sport. His 24-hour Sunset to Sunset piece inviting strangers to improvise with him. Plus, ahead of Patriots Day, we head beyond the Freedom Trail to musket-scarred gravestones and overlooked Revolutionary War sites where Boston's founding conflicts still leave their mark. That and more on The Culture Show today at 2 on 89.7 GBH.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Boston Children's Museum. Families can spring into play during April Vacation Week, April 20th through 26th, with cardboard creations, dress-up, singing, and dancing. Tickets at bostonchildrensmuseum.org.
And the Boston Speakers Series, announcing its upcoming season at Symphony Hall for 7 evenings featuring Pete Buttigieg, former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, financial journalist Andrew Ross Sorkin, and former NASA head Charles Bolden. bostonspeakers.org.
Welcome back to BPR on GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Back at the library tomorrow, the president of the library joins us. Talk about an exhibit around the 250th. We're not there on Tuesday because of post-marathon cleanup. April 28th, which is a Tuesday. First hour, the governor's with us for an hour in person. Second hour, Mayor Wu for an hour. And on Friday, May 1st, our co-host is Ken Casey, of the Dropkick Murphys, who is booking the whole show.
I'm so
himself.
excited.
Here now via Zoom, political analyst Chuck Todd. Chuck's former moderator of NBC's Meet the Press, now host of the show Sunday Night with Chuck Todd on the platform Newsphere, host of the Chuck Toddcast, which you can find at thechucktoddcast.com or at youtube.com/@thechucktoddcast, and co-host of the new podcast Dynastic. Hello there, Chuck.
Well, hello there. Dropkick Murphy song. Do I get to be on that show?
If you'd like to be, maybe we can work
That
it
would be
out.
great.
Yeah, will he book me?
I don't know. We'll find out.
He's in charge, right? Yeah,
that
he's got
would
a book.
be that would be great. He's got some great.
Stay
people.
tuned.
I bet he does. That's fun.
But before we get to what I thought was another odd press conference this morning by Pete Hegseth.
Odd does not do.
Not
that.
even close. But go ahead, Marjorie.
Yeah. But go ahead, get the thesaurus.
Well, I'm just going to say, what's your sense of where we are with Iran, Lebanon, and Israel?
Look, it's pretty. Look, the president he was trying to get out of this, right? And he's trying to find an exit ramp. The problem he's got is the Iranians know it, right? They're well aware of this. But, we're going to see the Iran nuclear deal. This is NAFTA, but don't call it NAFTA. This is the Iran nuclear deal, but don't call it. It is the only exit ramp he can build to get him out of this thing. He clearly wants to get out of this. The only other way out of this, somebody used an expression I'd never heard yesterday. It's like, I know it was Todd Young, an Indiana senator who's definitely wishes this war had never started. Now, he's of the mindset that, well, you probably shouldn't grab a tiger by the ears, but once you grab a tiger by the ears, you better not let go of the tiger, right? It sort of was his mindset on this. And that's the only other option Trump has, right? Which is to, go all in, send ground troops, take control of the strait, et cetera, and do full regime change, which, of course, is going to take thousands of troops, right? Not hundreds, not tens, not special forces. And he doesn't have the stomach for that. And B, I don't think there's the political will. And I think there's enough growing resistance, even among Republicans, about this war that he couldn't sustain it. Technically, he can take the 60-day window and extend it 30 more days before Congress, then all of a sudden the War Powers Act sort of expires completely. But he can't get this done in 90 days. So we're going to see a new Iran nuclear deal. It's just a question of how long does it take to put pen to paper.
Well, just on that note for a second, we had John Kerry in studio for an hour last week, I think it was. It took them, as you know, a couple of years. Prior to the final 2 weeks. So the only way I would assume they can cut a deal in this kind of finite time period is to essentially Xerox what was done.
That's exactly
and make
right.
some changes,
Hey,
right?
what do we got here? Does anybody have it? Let's do a little cut and paste. Oh, wait, that says 2014. Boom, boom, boom. Let's change it to 2026, right? To go to 30. And they just got to agree. Is it a 10-year moratorium on enrichment?
Okay.
Is it a 15-year? Right. By the way, the fact that they leaked out, the U.S. asked for 20,
and they
which
won
means
5.
what?
Yeah.
Right. But that means the U.S. was accepting the premise that they could put a deadline on this, which also means they've just agreed that this regime should stay in power.
Well, not only that,
is now a proof that Trump. Our military eviscerated their military, but Iran may have won this war.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Not to mention the fact that one of the primary reasons that Trump savaged the deal that Kerry and Obama did was because there was that sunset that they're now apparently happy with. Back to Hegseth. I don't want to do it too long because it really gets me so aggravated.
You and me both. I really
awful.
He is such a terrible human being.
I'm
that's
so
what you
glad
really
you said.
realize.
For those who didn't watch this morning, there were two things. There was, beyond the general macho sickness, there was one, the holy war thing that went on for quite a while. And then there was the usual vicious attack on the press, in which I wrote this down. It's hard to figure which side you're on. This is a guy who was in the media. Which side you're on is his
it's
position.
not just that. It wasn't just that. He also sort of leaned into an anti-Semitic trope about Jesus and the Jews and all of that.
The Pharisee thing.
The Pharisees, yeah.
I mean, which is the most anti-Semitic thing you could.
Can you explain what happened for those who weren't up at 8 o'clock being masochistic?
Well, I mean, he just went off on this rant about the press, and he claimed that he was sitting in church on Sunday. I mean, he just has such a perverted view of Christianity.
Totally.
I'm no expert at it, but and obviously I come at it from a being raised Jewish. So I'm in a mixed religious family, so I learned a little bit, but as I always taught my kids when they asked me, so what's up with Easter? And I said, well, Easter's when Jews and Christians part ways. That's the fork in the road. I said, everything is I said, on Friday, we're all there. On Friday, we're having a Seder, right? On Sunday, you're like, whoa, that's where we went on, we went left, they went right, whatever you want to say. But, it really is. It's horrendous what he's doing, but you look at it and you realize the real issue with this poor man, and this is where he's really got the worst case of poser complex, right? Which is when you're incredibly unqualified to be doing what you're doing, you have no idea what you're doing, and instead of having humility, you go the exact opposite, right?
Yeah.
And you behave the way he behaves, and DC has quite a few posers, right? But this is historic level. So.
Well, then we had the Pope and President Trump, and we had that first picture of him with the hand on the person lying in bed that looked like Jon Stewart or Jeffrey Epstein. Pick your person. And then, of course, the president said he was supposed to be a doctor. Then we had the new one of another Jesus looking on beatifically at Donald Trump. And this morning we learned down in your old neck of the woods that he's canceled an $11 million Catholic Charities program, which has been around since the 1960s to take care of migrant children who come over here without their parents. I guess he's cut that off because he's mad.
Well, that was cut. It's not clear that it was a retribution now. Apparently that decision was made a few weeks ago. That's just simple. They don't remember, this administration doesn't want to have any entity that is sympathetic to migrants. They don't want to, they're going to cut off taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, that's policy that they are pursuing.
And then there's Vance, who's the vice president, who keeps running around saying all these crazy things as well, going after the Pope.
I mean, Pope John D. Vance the first?
Yeah, Pope John D. Vance. I said this to Jim this morning because I am a Catholic, and
he's now the expert. But he's been a Catholic for 7 years, so he's more of an expert than the Pope.
Well, apparently he doesn't know. The Pope is an Augustinian, and it was Augustine that came up with the just war theory. That's what the Pope's. He's with the Augustine crowd, and he's the just war guy. So I think the Pope probably knows a little bit about what just war is.
No, did you see what the Speaker of the House, not a Catholic at all, was lecturing the Pope about just war? Theology.
I mean, it's crazy.
It's the arrogance of some in this, and this is where I do separate it out. This is not a normal thing. These are extremists inside the Republican Party, and this is extremist thinking. Mike Johnson and Pete Hegseth with their religious views and the way they infuse it into public life, you couldn't be more anti-founder. Right? This is exactly the opposite of what the founders, how they viewed religion and government and all of this. That is something we don't cover enough, because I'll tell you why we don't cover enough. And I know why I don't, and you guys probably have the same feeling. Is, look, to me, religion is, that's over here and politics is over there, and mixing them is always so complicated, and it can be so personal for people. So I don't like having to deal with it. I'll admit it. But this is just so dangerous and damaging to the pluralistic society that we had built for 250 years.
One last quick thing about this. There's been more written lately about people's concern that Trump has really gone off the deep end, that he's not mentally stable and stuff.
Not enough.
Not enough.
I hear you, but can I just, I'm one of those that just sort of like, well, what's the difference between now and 9 years ago?
Well, I guess the difference is we're in a war now. And I get between him and Pete Hegseth talking about lethality all the time and the beauty of bombs raining down out of the sky. I wonder who's going to stop.
It's more intense. It's
them.
more nonstop.
Is Kane going to stop them? Hegseth
that's the other. I think that's a huge
like
thing.
9 generals. I mean, if he goes off the deep end and decides he is going to blow things up over there, who's going to stop him?
Well, I do. This purge is really concerning, right? It does feel as if anybody he thinks that would stand in the way of a questionable order, it feels like he's trying to get them out of the way. We saw it with the Army. There does seem to be at least somebody. The Secretary of Army seems to be pushing back on him, but not. Secretary of Navy didn't. Secretary of Air Force hasn't, and anybody that stands in his way, he purges out. So, this is. The military was the last institution that there was bipartisan trust with and admiration.
Yeah.
And the politicizing of what he's doing. And, that's something that lingers, right? That takes a while to fix, even if you get, new leadership, right? I mean, that's going to take a while. Because think about the way they're recruiting. Think about who the new recruits are and who they're picking.
Exactly.
We're talking to Chuck Todd. Marjorie and I were talking about something you talked about about Trump stepping on his lead on April 15th. We had a guy call us yesterday who was saying, and he was a little upset with us, that we should be talking about the fact that he saved $4,800. He says he got a $4,800 credit. I don't know if he meant deduction or credit, but in any case, because he's a wasn't he a tipped worker?
No,
whatever he was, tipped or overtime and that sort of thing. He did a better job on our show than Trump. I'm serious. Than Trump did, and used adjectives a minute ago to describe the administration. Inept is another one. The inability when they have one thing to sell to be able to not step all over it is stunning to me.
Well, I just, look, the inability to not stop digging when they're in a hole, right? They just never know when to stop digging. Like this feud with the Pope. Look, you're never going to win a debate on theology with the Pope. Even if you think you're right. Even if you think that you're just not going to. So don't do it. It's a pointless fight. It's like, me saying, I'm just going to go box Mike Tyson. No, you're not,
Well, maybe you are, but it's not a good idea. Yeah.
It's not a good idea. And they just, he doesn't have self-control. It's so clear, right? And if he had a little bit of self-control, it would behoove him. But then, he always believes if he starts, behaving normally. Like, I was thinking about, in some ways, Trump politically is in about the same place George W. Bush was at this point in time in 2006. Very similar to where Barack Obama was at this point in time in 2014. But both Barack Obama and George W. Bush cared about their party enough to say, I'm going to keep a lower profile. Hey, do you want me to visit or do you not want me to visit? Do you want me to endorse you? Do you not want, they read the room, right? They understood, I'm not so popular right now. Maybe I need to not pick certain fights. Maybe I do not need to insert myself in the news. And of course, that's just not Donald Trump, which is why he's going to take a midterm year, which maybe they have the resources to be competitive, but he is just blowing it up every day. He is the best asset Democrats have in the midterms.
I agree.
Because what happened on tax day, look, the gentleman with this $4,800 refund, which is, in tax benefits, that's fantastic. Now, the other problem he's got, and he's going to realize all of a sudden that $4,800 is going to be gone by July. That padding that he thought he had because of increased prices on electricity and increased prices on food and increased prices on energy, that is all only going to start to exponentially go. I mean, the markets are sort of drunk on AI money or something. But the last oil tanker to make it through before February 28th goes to port, I think, Monday or Tuesday next week, somewhere in Asia. And then all of a sudden, there are going to be countries that are off a cliff when it comes to energy. I mean, you've got rationing starting to be talked about in Australia. Yeah. You've got this and all of that. If you don't think that doesn't impact our economy, you've paid no attention to the global economy since the pandemic.
Before you go, I can't believe I hadn't thought of this, but when you were talking about, you didn't use the word baiting Trump, but how he can't ever stop responding. For the first time in a decade, remember that great line from Hillary Clinton? A man, what is something like a guy you can bait with a tweet is not a guy who should have his hand on the nuclear button. And boy, it is exactly.
Well, that's what makes me nervous about now. That's what scares me about now. When I see Pete Hegseth
and especially, and you don't have a Jim Mattis there who was a responsible actor.
Yeah.
Right. You have a loony, a man who's so in over his head. I mean, I have to say, I am glad to see Tom Tillis speak out now. But man, I have to say, he really did the country a disservice when he backed off on Hegseth and confirmed him. Amen. It's probably the worst vote he's ever cast.
Well, and
my guess is he knows it.
Don't forget Cassidy and RFK. There's always one guy who
one guy who we thought was going to be the bulwark. They backed down. This is what happens when you think you can negotiate with a tyrant. You can't.
Good to see you, Chuck Todd. Be well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chuck.
Talk to you soon.
We've been speaking with Chuck Todd. Chuck Todd. Oops. Chuck is the former moderator of NBC's Meet the Press. Sorry. He's now host of the show Sunday Night with Chuck Todd on the platform Newsphere. Host of the Chuck Toddcast, which you can find at the chucktoddcast.com or youtube.com at the Chuck Toddcast. And he's the co-host of this new podcast, Dynastic. I'd love to talk to him.
Coming up, Andrea Cabral.
The weekend is coming with stories.
I always knew that I had a voice that could make a difference.
Gardening.
Prune for health and appearance, not to try and control size.
And DIY delights.
There are these companies and they go viral because they'll spray something on the side of cedar and it just brightens it up and makes it look beautiful. But it doesn't actually add to the durability.
That's how we do weekends on GBH 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Newport Mansions, presenting Full Circle, Richard Fleischner with David Smith, Christo, Klaus Oldenburg, Barnett Newman, and other Monumenta artists. On view now through May 3rd at Rosecliff, newportmansions.org. And MIT Sloan Executive Education, helping professionals stay competitive with 2 to 3 day courses on AI essentials, strategic leadership, and more. Details at executive.mit.edu.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy. We're live at the library. We're streaming youtube.com/GBH News. The library tomorrow. President of the library is joining us about their 250th anniversary exhibit. Tracy Bonham is going to perform. We're not there Tuesday because they're cleaning up from the marathon. Governor and the mayor both for an hour on April 28th. And on Friday, May 1st, our co-host will be Ken Casey from the Dropkick Murphys. Joined now on Zoom by Andrea Cabral, former sheriff of Suffolk County, former secretary of public safety. Hello there, Andrea Cabral.
Hello there, Jim. Hello there, Marjorie.
Hello, Andrea Cabral. So a federal jury just found yesterday that Live Nation, the big concert, the company there that owns Ticketmaster, has operated a monopoly in violation of antitrust law. So I think this could be good news, for people that like to go to a lot of concerts.
It is good news. There are lots of moving parts to this that are worth discussing. So for people who don't know, a lot of people who buy tickets to concerts buy them from Ticketmaster. And Ticketmaster is I think a subsidiary. I think it's the Live Nation which runs a lot of venues for concerts, owns Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're part of one company. And essentially in 2024, I believe, is when under the Biden administration, this antitrust case was brought against them because they control over 80% of the market. And what they had been doing, and what I suspect they continue to do, even during the pendency of the case, is overcharging people for tickets, overcharging them for the use of VIP venues, for VIP events. I think some of the trial testimony that came out had employees bragging about doing that very thing. But even worse, using their power in the market to force other players to use their services, to threaten them, and say, basically, if you're not going to use a Live Nation venue, or if you're going to go to someplace other than Ticketmaster to sell tickets to your event, then you'll be punished for that. And so it's basically extortive. And the basis of antitrust is allowing, the purpose of it is to allow healthy competition in any marketplace and not to allow any one group or consolidated group to control the market and therefore take advantage of the public. So this case was brought initially by the DOJ under the Biden administration. Over 33 states, 33 states in the District of Columbia joined the lawsuit. Massachusetts is one of them. Our AG, Andrea Campbell, joined on behalf of the state of Massachusetts. And the case was proceeding forward, and it was a very strong case. And then unceremoniously and without notice to the court, until the case had actually begun, the Department of Justice decided to settle with Live Nation for a paltry sum, something like $281 million, which is a very small amount, especially given what this jury actually found. So the DOJ dropped out of the very case it had itself bought a couple of years ago. Under the Trump administration, decided to let Live Nation and Ticketmaster off the hook for a paltry sum. The attorneys general of the 33 states went forward anyway, which was their option to do, and thank God they did on behalf of the people of the United States, because a jury found that they were, in fact, operating as a monopoly. And just to give you an idea of how paltry a sum the DOJ signed for, among the findings by the jury was that Ticketmaster had overcharged customers by, you have to prove monetary damages in order to get punitive damages in civil cases like this. So they found that they had overcharged customers by $1.72 a ticket for each ticket, which might seem like a small amount until you consider that they sold over 643 million tickets just last year alone.
Wow.
So they're only settling for $261 million, but they're making $646 million in a single year, right? So for the Trump administration, everything is transactional, and they don't mind monopoly.
Let me correct you. You misspoke. They're not making $646 million a year. They're making many times more than that. As you said, they sold 646 million tickets. Right.
Right.
Go ahead.
Exactly. You're right, because I'm not counting the VIP events, what people pay for events. Absolutely right. But the Trump administration, and this is a cog in the wheel of the Trump administration's control over the Department of Justice, is to use the Department of Justice to make transactional deals. In other words, to settle cases where they see financial benefit in the settlement for him and the people that he cares about. But to pursue cases, especially criminal cases, against his enemies, and where he feels that there is political benefit to pursuing those cases. So the damage on this is not just limited to allowing an monopolistic operator to get off the hook. It is part of a much larger, far more incalculably damaging use of the DOJ to further financial interests and political interests and retaliatory interests of the President of the United States, which is precisely what the DOJ is not supposed to be doing, nor is any federal agency.
Two last things about this is just to give you another sense of how big this operation is, in addition to the 646 million tickets that Andrea mentioned. I just did the math. The story I read said they do 55,000 events a year. That's 150 events a day in different places. And the thing we don't know, if you're wondering, the judge hasn't decided yet what the penalty is going to be. So you don't know. Some people think Live Nation, they'll be required to dump Ticketmaster. It's unclear what kind of compensation for people, how do they get the compensation. But the finding itself is it's a major moment, obviously, despite the behavior of the federal government. We're talking to Andrea Cabral.
I just had one more thing.
Sure.
Sorry, Marjorie, did you want to ask?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. Did you want to say something?
Yes. There's someone's quote that first of all, the New York Times story on this is very comprehensive and very well written for people who feel like they don't really understand what antitrust is. Read the New York Times story. NPR did a good one too. But there's a comment in there. Someone's quoted as saying, thank God that the attorneys general of these specific states went forward anyway. And that is true. But the larger point there is that we pay taxes in part for federal agencies like the Department of Justice to further the interests of the American people. We don't pay taxes so that these agencies can act on behalf of the President of the United States and all of his interests. And that's exactly what is happening here with this settlement.
By the way, we have breaking news that is relevant to those who are concerned about this war. Trump just announced a 10-day ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon starting at 5 p.m. today, which apparently was one of the obstacles to the Strait of Hormuz being open. He said he spoke to both President of Lebanon and Netanyahu ahead of the announcement.
Well, that's very good news for these poor people in Lebanon.
Million plus. Let me just say, we had the lead UN person from Lebanon on the other day from Beirut, and not only did he mention the 1.2 million Lebanese people displaced, 20% of the country, said 40% of those affected by Israel's actions in southern Beirut were children. 40%.
Yeah. No, it's a nightmare.
We're talking to Andrea Cabral.
So, Andrea, you just finished saying how the Justice Department is not supposed to be doing the bidding of the president, but it does seem that they're doing his bidding again, where they're getting rid of these conspiracy convictions for some of the January 6 rioters. This is even beyond what happened before.
It is beyond what has happened before, and that's why I said that the settlements in the civil cases for financial benefit for his friends and himself is one part of the cog in the wheel. The other part of this is his utilization of the DOJ to protect people, and in this case, to literally protect and pardon co-conspirators in the criminal justice system, except in this instance, and except by virtue of the SCOTUS finding this unconstitutional absolute presidential immunity, which includes unlimited pardon power, do we find the President of the United States, A, being credibly charged as a co-conspirator until those cases went away, and B, being allowed to pardon co-conspirators and absolve them from any criminal responsibility. So what happened here is he did a blanket pardon for the January 6th rioters, those who had already been charged. The first day in office, he did a blanket pardon for them. There were some that had been charged and convicted. Among them, very prominent members of the Proud Boys and the Keepers, both universally acknowledged white supremacists, violent white supremacist groups who participated in January 6th. He commuted their sentences to the extent that they had already been sentenced and were serving time, commuted those to time served. He now is deciding, he and Todd Blanche, his former personal attorney, who is now succeeded Pam Bondi as he's at least the interim AG. They are now deciding that, well, why waste pardons on these guys? The DOJ should just go in, and to the extent that they are appealing their convictions, despite the fact that their sentences have been commuted. The convictions still stand. So they're in front of the appeals court to appeal their convictions. They went in and said to the appeals court, would you dismiss these pleas at the appellate level so that we can dismiss the indictments altogether, because it is in the interest of justice, and it is none other than U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, the former Fox News host, who knows nothing, I suggest to you, about governance or really the law, who is spearheading this. They're going to dismiss the indictments altogether. And the motion that was filed was just for oath keepers like Stuart Rhodes, notoriously convicted in the January 6th cases as one of the people. They were part of the oath keepers. They were stockpiling weapons to do sort of a backup violent insurrection in addition to the one that was carried out on January 6th, should that have become necessary, but they were thwarted in that. He was given 18 months. Those are the kinds of convictions that we're talking about here. And they also intend to file a similar motion on behalf of the Proud Boys, who were equally culpable in this and were ringleaders.
One thing I'm unclear about, you're a former prosecutor, I think, as most listeners know. Is the court required to grant the motion of the prosecutor since they brought the case to begin with, or is it in their discretion to say no, the matter stands?
Well, the motion is filed. Obviously, it's unopposed. Yeah. So the oath keepers and the Proud Boys think this is a great motion, so they're not going to oppose it. So there's no two sides to it.
Right.
I'm not sure if the appeals court. I don't think the appeals court is really in a position to say, no, we're going to insist that the appeal be pursued, because the DOJ is essentially saying, we intend to dismiss the underlying indictment. Without the underlying indictment, there really isn't a conviction to pursue, and therefore there is not an appeal. So even if there were some mechanism for them to do it, even symbolically, it would not, I don't know that it would achieve anything, because by hook or by crook, the DOJ has every intention of absolving these people and, folding them back into the private militia that Trump started building before the insurrection.
Didn't one of those Proud Boys get like a big time sentence? Enrique Tarrio, is that his name? Didn't he get like 18 years or something
18
like that?
20 or something.
I mean, that was a big sentence.
Well, he wasn't available for the January 6th insurrection because he had burned a black church.
Right.
That's right.
And,
that's right.
It was an attempted arson. I don't know that it necessarily burned down, but there was damage. But he was clearly he was one of the ringleaders around the insurrection, as were a number of other Proud Boys. But that's what I mean when I say these are the steps that are being taken. It is the overarching purpose is to undermine the principle, the rule of law, and the principal law enforcement agency charged with representing the people against whom these crimes are committed whenever the DOJ goes forward, and to turn this into his private law firm. You couldn't have a bigger example of it being his private law firm than to have his private attorney, former private attorney, be the attorney general. I mean, this is insane.
You know what cracks me up? If you see some of the,
30 seconds.
I know we're almost done, but if you see some of the Trump supporters online or wherever you're reading your news or on TV or wherever saying, well, when they're talking about people coming to the country illegally, well, we have to follow the law. We have to follow the law, even though it's a civil kind of thing. They're the biggest lawbreakers going. I mean, the Constitution defies court orders from the judges. This is really, I guess you could say he's not breaking the law here because he has immunity, but it's still pretty sleazy stuff. It's just,
they have no credibility. The credibility before the court, going back on cases that they themselves fought, it's not only credibility issue for the federal judiciary, but demoralizing internally.
Yeah. Well, I think half the Justice Department has left or resigned in horror.
Fired.
Yeah, or fired. You're right.
Andrea,
thank you very much.
Good to speak with you. See you.
We have been speaking with Andrew Cabral, former sheriff of Suffolk County, former Secretary of Public Safety for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We say goodbye to those of you listening to us on NEPM. Thank you so much for tuning in. The fabulous 413 starts at 3 o'clock this afternoon. We're going to keep going in Boston after this quick break. What is really driving up your energy bill costs? We're going to talk with two experts. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Brady. You're listening to BPR, GBH, and NEPM, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
On April 28th, GBH invites you for a special look into the untold origin story of Frankenstein. Hear from award-winning novelist Emily Franklin as she unpacks her evocative new novel, Love and Other Monsters. Tickets at gbh.org/events.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And Seasons for the Outdoor Living Store in Lexington, featuring over 100 styles of outdoor furniture delivered throughout New England, plus a wide selection of plants, statuary, and garden accessories. April event in progress. Seasons4.com.
And Bernadine Sung Megasin at Dream Mega International Realty, dedicated to helping buyers and sellers across Greater Boston, offering market insight and guidance through each step of the process. More at homesbybernadine.com.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
Welcome to hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH, Jim Brady and Marjorie Egan. We are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're going to be back at the Boston Public Library tomorrow speaking with David Leonard, the president of the library. We also got some great live music. We're not going to be there on Tuesday, the day after the marathon, because they're still going to be cleaning up down at the finish line in the library the day after the marathon. However, on April 28th, we're going to be joined by both the governor from 11 to noon and the mayor of Boston from 1 to 2. And then on May 1st, we're going to be broadcasting at the library. We're going to be co-hosting with Ken Casey, who is the lead guy of the Dropkick Murphys and a star-studded cast of guests that he has
booked themselves
for us. Hello again,
pretty
Jim.
great. Hey, Marjorie. It's been another year of sticker price shocks under Trump's economy, tariffs, wars, and more. We just came out of a winter of record high prices for heating bills. Beacon Hill knows that. I mean, Governor Healy, every month she's here, talks about bringing down energy prices. The latest attempt in the House of Representatives on Beacon Hill to alleviate the stress is an energy affordability bill that they say will save utility ratepayers $9 billion over the next 10 years. That's what they're saying. One line item in their legislation is to cut $1 billion from MassSave. That's the program that consumers can tap into to make homes more energy efficient. Both Marjorie and I have been beneficiaries, by the way. But consumer and energy efficiency advocates say cutting MassSave is a red herring, won't save money in the long run. Even Speaker Ron Mariano admitted to CVB's On the Record last month that at least in the short term, the bill as written wouldn't do much.
The completely honest answer is it's not going to help much at all.
The next day he changes tune, but it is what it is. So what's really making that energy bill so high, and is MassSave worth saving? Here to explain is Mary Wambui from the Energy Efficiency Advisory Council, where she co-chairs the Energy Equity Working Group. It's great to have you. Thanks so much. It's good to meet you. Larry Chretian is back. He's the Executive Director of the Green Energy Consumer Alliance. Good to see you, Larry. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, thank you both very much for coming in. As Jim said, we've both taken advantage of MassSave. You got your house insulated. I got a lot of
all three floors of my house insulated.
I should have done that. I got a lot of free light bulbs though, and I got those little things on the faucets, energy saving water stuff. So all that was great too. So, but tell people, Mary, who don't know, what is MassSave?
So MassSave is the Commonwealth's energy efficiency delivery program. And from 2008, and Larry can correct me if I'm wrong there, there was a law, the Green Communities Act, and that act facilitated the ability of people to pay an energy efficiency surcharge so that the Commonwealth can be able to cut down its energy consumption, which overall reduces system-wide costs.
Yeah.
How much has it saved in those years, Larry? How much has it saved utility ratepayers?
Billions of dollars, and studies have shown that our electricity and gas rates would be higher today if it wasn't for the investments that MassSave made over the years.
And they come to your house for free, which is the big thing. They come there and do stuff for you. Did you have to pay for your insulation?
No, I didn't.
I did not pay for my 75 light bulbs.
Well, you're paying.
either.
I mean, in fairness, you're paying. It's on the bill.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a second.
If you get the little MassSave
Right.
sign up, they come to your house and they give you stuff.
So, what is the House proposing, and why are they proposing it, Larry?
So in February, the House passed its version of the energy affordability bill, and it had a lot of good things in it that will be generally good for ratepayers and for the environment over time. But they did one really bad thing, which is you already said they proposed a $1 billion cut to MassSave. The important thing to realize is that the budget for MassSave is $4.5 billion over 3 years. From 2025 to 2027. We're almost through 2026. By the time this bill, if it got passed, it would be into 2027. So it's cutting $1 billion out of $1.5 billion for 2027. And I just don't think they thought it through in the House. I think that cut would cripple MassSave. It would put thousands of workers out of jobs, and it wouldn't be able to recover in 2020.
So why are they doing it? It's got to be more than just it's ill-conceived. And
Maybe Speaker
they weren't thinking about
Mariano
it.
didn't get any free light bulbs.
I'm serious. Why'd they do it?
I think it became it's visible. There are some people
Visible because it's on your bill.
It's
And
on
they
your
can
bill.
point
If
to
you
the
look
bill.
at
Yeah,
you look at your
yeah,
gas or
I agree
electricity
with that.
bills, you see that pointed out. What you don't see is how much money we're spending on fossil fuels. They don't itemize it like that. You don't see the profit that National Grid and Eversource and Unitil and all the other gas companies are making. So it sticks out a little bit, and so we think it's one thing that there were some people complaining. I think there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation by the utilities and by the fossil fuel companies about why energy prices have risen. They're trying to. It is a red herring. You put it right there before, which is people that they're trying to take our attention away from all the other causes of high energy prices.
So why are energy bills so high, Mary? And then we can talk about what you guys believe should be done if a cut to MassSave is not one of the solutions.
Energy bills are high because of natural gas volatility in the open market. They're also high because of utility infrastructure overspending, and they're also high because of high profits. And it's not difficult to remember that recently Eversource mentioned that they doubled their profits, $1.69 billion to be exact, and part of the reasons that they attributed to increasing their profit was a distribution rate case that essentially increases costs for consumers. And if I may go back just a little bit about maybe the reason why it seems easy to cut the energy efficiency surcharge, that it being on your bill is an easy reason. I do want to share about my own hot water gas bill.
Oh, tell us.
So my hot water gas bill is currently, last month, it was $45, right? The energy efficiency surcharge was $5. So if you apply the State House logic that this energy efficiency surcharge that you can easily see is removed by the bill, you're not factoring in the fact that there's actually a rate case in Loughborough or in the National Grid territory that would essentially wipe out this $5 reduction because of the projected increase. So at the end of this year, my bill will be about maybe $46 a month. So it will be higher.
It'll be higher. And I don't mean to be suspicious, but I read in some of these stories how the big utilities, gas, electric and stuff, pour the fossil fuel people pour thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into the re-election campaigns of our legislators. Is that one of the problems here?
Obviously, I think that happens at every level of government, but the utilities are and the fossil fuel companies, the gas companies and the oil companies and the propane companies are pretty active on Beacon Hill. Groups like Mary's and mine are active too, but we just don't have the monetary ability to keep up with that. And so the legislators are getting lobbied constantly by advocates who want to preserve the status quo and keep our region dependent on fossil fuels.
Yes, and we're also paying for the reconstruction of a lot of the old pipelines. Right?
Yes, and
the ratepayers are.
Is that the delivery charge that's on the? Is it what's
Yes.
That's the delivery charge. That's a huge part of the bill, right?
So in both electricity and gas, a portion of the bill is the supply of electricity or gas, and then it's the cost of delivering it. So think of that as pipes for gas and wires for electricity. And Mary said it, when the utilities have this incentive to spend more on pipes and wires, because that costs a lot of money, but then they get a return on investment on those expenditures. So that's their business model.
So there's incentive to invest. We get back to the profit issue for a second. How much of the problem is, in terms of the high bills, is the profit of the utility companies? You want to start, Mary?
Yes, I want to start. So part of the reason is that we don't have transparency, which is why the Department of Public Utilities has a proceeding going on now to ask for transparency. For example, if you think about National Grid's existing gas proceeding, they say they're asking for like a $342 million increase. Hidden in there is almost half of that gas system enhancement program. So the lack of transparency makes it even more difficult to know exactly who is responsible for what and what we should do as residents and ratepayers to change the system.
Well, speaking, I want to stay on this for 1 second. I don't understand. We go through this dance every time there's an increase. The utility companies ask for an exorbitant amount. The governor and the attorney general say, oh, no. And the Public Utility Commission comes out in the middle. It's like the same thing that happens all the time.
Yep.
Why doesn't the legislature cap the percentage increase and then say, the burden's on you utility companies. If you think, let's say, X percent is not enough, then you have to make an affirmative case to the Public Utility Commission to say extraordinary circumstances merit X plus 1. Why would the legislature not do that? Just because they're owned by the utility companies?
Well, perhaps. I think we're hoping that the Senate will take another look. Now the ball has moved up to the Senate.
Also, isn't Healy a big fan of MassSave? She's with us on the 28th. We'll broach with her. Hasn't she been somebody who's praised MassSave, or am I wrong?
Generally, yes. Although, she did ask the DPU to cut the MassSave budget from...
but $300 million, from what I understand, right?
$500 million. It was going to be $5 billion over 3 years, and then now it's $4.5 billion. And we just hope right now she will stand up and come to you and say that she supports the Senate putting back that.
Do you know that the Senate's going to put the money back?
I'm pretty optimistic that they're going to do the right
thing. So you do.
Thing.
What? Can you go back for a second? The bill you explained the particularly major impact in this fiscal year, but overall, what would a roughly 20% cut mean for the budget of MassSave? What would we the ratepayer, not get that we are currently getting? Mira, why don't you start, and then Larry?
Yeah, so it's important to understand the history of the MassSave delivery system. So for years, communities in gateway cities, low and moderate income households have always sort of been left behind by the implementation of MassSave. But since 2022, there has been a strategic push to increase incentives that are going to low and moderate income households.
Is that because of you?
I've done a lot of advocacy.
I had a feeling that
Good
might
for
be the
you.
case. Go ahead, keep going. I'm sorry.
So for the first time in 2025, MassSave incentives to low and moderate income households were 53%, up from 30% in 2022. So those who would really be affected by this cut are the most vulnerable.
And the people who need it most.
Yes, and in addition, the jobs that come with MassSave. MassSave has about 76,000 jobs, and if you push it even further, it supports up to 100,000. Those are real jobs, things that have been planned for. The current plan is in motion, so something catastrophic to our economy, to housing, is what's going to happen.
You want to add to the impact issue, Larry?
Sure. I think we signed on to a letter. Mary had a lot to do with 164 organizations that are concerned about affordable housing and want to make it more affordable through energy efficiency, signed a letter to the legislature asking them to not cut that $1 billion. And because those groups are seeing the big picture, which is, you can make housing cheaper over the long run by investing in energy efficiency. So you asked what would be lost by this $1 billion cut. Well, the whole point is it's an energy saving program which saves money over time. And if we don't save the energy, we're going to have to buy it from the market. We're going to have to buy it from fossil fuels. We're going to have higher electricity prices. And that will cost us more over time, no question about it. Not to mention the environmental benefits, but
yes, let's talk about that for a second. I mean, this is so like surreal in a way. We're in this battle now with Iran. We've got the oil blocked. People's oil bills are going up, as you said, Mary, at the beginning. The volatility of gas prices. Like we're being held hostage by oil companies, and in the meantime, the president is trying to do everything he can to ruin the clean energy initiatives, including he was trying to shut down the wind farm off the Cape.
Energy policy in the United States is now being managed by Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, and the Ayatollah.
Yeah, there you go.
And here in Massachusetts, I think we have a better way of thinking about things. And the clean energy is cheaper than being overly dependent on fossil fuels, whether it's oil or gas. We can heat our homes and have a better society if we.
What do you say to renters? One of the arguments that is not supportive of MassSave, from what I understand through the years, is renters get a shorter end of the stick. Is that a legitimate criticism, Larry?
MassSave isn't perfect, but over the years it's gotten better. I was on the.
What does that mean?
The commitment to renters. We're looking at the data, and we did realize that rental properties tend to be less efficient because landlords tend not to participate. And go ahead, Mary.
I actually have exact numbers for you.
Please.
Oh,
so
good.
Because our push is for equity, 600 million in the current existing plan is for renters. There is an innovative plan called the Designated Equity Communities in the current MassSave program that is designed to solve that exact problems. So the issue is just at the time when you're addressing challenges, you're pulling out the money. So what happens? You cannot pull out insulation out of your house to save or lower bills. That's what's happening now.
Did you see the text from Tanya in Newton who said, last winter I called MassSave. A $10,000 house insulation job ended up costing $1,700 through MassSave. That's a big savings. I never could have done it without them. I'm happy if my tax money goes toward this program. I wish they would start offering solar panels or more green options.
So if there is somebody beyond the legislative fight, I assume what you're asking people to do if they agree with your arguments is obviously call your state senator, and I assume call the governor's office, and we will broach it with her when she's here on the 28th. If people are listening and saying, either I didn't know about this or I've never accessed the benefits, what's the best way for a person, Mary, who wants to see if MassSave can be beneficial to them to access the program? What do they do?
There is a MassSave public website, and that's the easiest way. And for certain cities and towns, you can just call your city and town, because nowadays MassSave is actually funding for local energy efficiency advocates at $85,000 per town up to that much. So they can call their cities, they can also go to the website, and then the Energy Efficiency Advisories Council's meetings, those are public. And the process to create a MassSave plan is also usually public. So if you can go to the EEAC website, you can see when all the meetings are happening, and you can join and you can actually offer public comment.
And you can also call the legislature or email your
Call your
legislators.
senator, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
617-722-2000.
Correct.
Is the
Yeah,
number.
Last thing, yeah.
Well, that's our objective here, is to just remind people that the legislative process takes time. It's in the Senate now. When they do a bill, then it's going to go together. The House and the Senate will do a conference committee. Then you can talk to all your legislators. But it's all going to happen over the next few months. And we just need to realize what a big impact this would be.
And let me just say, regardless of where you are, I think they make a very persuasive argument, but regardless of where you are in the interim, the program is there and is hugely beneficial to people. Access it, use it. You're paying for it, and you should use it. Really glad to see you both. Good to see you, Larry. Good to meet you, Mary.
Thank you very much
Thanks
for coming
so much
in.
for your time. We really
We've been
appreciate it.
speaking with Mary Wambui from the Energy Efficiency Advisory Council and Larry Chretian, Executive Director of the Green Energy Consumers Alliance. Thank you very much, both of you, for coming in. Coming up after a quick break, GBH's Jared Bowen brings us the drama, this time the drama behind a blockbuster film in Boston, aptly named The Drama. That's next. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy, listening to BPR 89.7 GBH, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Today on the Curiosity Desk, we're looking at how you engineer the ultimate marathon runner. Whether it's special training, diets, fancy gear, how many more fractions of a second could we shave off our current world records? And what's actually happening in the human body when runners push themselves to absolute extremes? That's the Curiosity Desk today at 1 on GBH 89.7.
Support for our programs comes from you.
And Speakeasy Stage, presenting Swept Away. 4 New Bedford whalers must confront who they are and what they've done as they fight to survive a shipwreck, with music by the Avid Brothers. Opens April 24th. SpeakeasyStage.com. And Cornerstone at Canton, an assisted living community with wellness, care, and support services designed to help seniors age in place, including a Compass Memory Support Neighborhood. CornerstoneCanton.com.
Welcome back to BPR and 89.7 GBH. Jim Browdy, Marjorie Egan. We're streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Back at the library tomorrow. We're joined on Studio 3 by Mr. Drama himself. You'll understand that in a minute. Jared Bowen. He's smiling or not? You're half smiling. He's GBH's Executive Arts Editor, host of The Culture Show. He's not really smiling. Which airs right after the Curiosity Desk on 89.7 GBH at 2 p.m. Hello, Jared Bowen.
Hello. I think we can argue I'm drama-free. I try to be drama-free.
That's right.
Okay, fine.
Okay, but what is
Except for this drama.
The big drama behind the drama, please?
Ooh.
Well, I can't say exactly what it is, but we can talk around it.
We'll talk around
first
it.
of all, I have to say, I thought this was an extraordinary film. And I can say that going in without knowing what the drama was. So basically, there's a controversy around this film because people were very excited about it. They thought it was a romantic comedy for the way it was advertised and marketed. People here were very excited because Zendaya and Robert Pattinson shot it here in and around Boston about a year ago. Very exciting. But then people saw the film and realized it's not a romantic comedy. In fact, it's a pretty dark film. And where it takes its turn is as this couple gets closer to their wedding, they're out to drinks with friends one night and they play this game, what's the worst thing you've ever done? And they go around this circle and everybody says the worst thing they've ever done. And some of them are pretty bad. Some of them are extremely politically incorrect. I thought, I can't believe I'm seeing this on a film. And then they get to Zendaya's character who admits her worst thing she's ever done. And this is where I will not tell you what it is, because if you haven't seen it, it's worth not knowing, so you can go to the film and make your own judgment. but her thing is pretty bad, and a lot of people are questioning whether her thing, in quotes, is something that should be the subject matter of a film of this nature. So here is where I will come in as a critic and say I thought it was a pretty extraordinary exploration of people and of society, because you have Robert Pattinson's character, who was already a little bit morally ambiguous, suddenly trying to reconcile his own moral revulsion for her admission to what she's done in her past. And this becomes kind of, to some degree, the undoing of this relationship. I also think that this is a great look at our society in this moment. And maybe I'm saying this because I happened to see this film on the day that our president had announced he was going to annihilate another civilization. And I found myself having the same reaction as Robert Pattinson's character. Can I still love America knowing what it's espousing right now and the way it's espousing things? Of course, that's a very nuanced answer to that question, but it's exactly where we are as a society.
So did you read Odie Henderson's piece? Odie hated this thing.
I know he did.
And I really hate we should ask him, but I can ask you since you read it too, and you, Marjorie, since you read it. The sense I get, and I hope this is fair to him, is one of the reasons he really hated for a number of reasons, is because of the underlying thing that we're not describing that she talks about. Is that your takeaway too? Is that...
I think so. I think he also just didn't like the film.
Okay.
I think it resonated with me in a much different way. I just clearly saw a different film than he saw.
Well, it's going to resonate with me because I'm going to like all the scenery around Boston. The Tate Bakery on Boylston Street, right near where the library
Should've been
is.
a flower.
Then we've got the Cambridge Art Museum that they call it in the movie, but it's actually the Addison Garley.
My beloved Addison.
Which you
I
talk
was so
about
excited.
all the time. We have Andy's Diner in Cambridge. You know about that, Jim? It's supposed to be, that's a real thing, right? Isn't it a real thing?
Jamie just said they're due Andover, which is where he lives too. Why was
Back Bay Pad?
Yeah, why was it filmed in Boston? What was the Boston deal?
I don't know why they chose. Oh, no, I do know, because the director is European, the director/writer, and he was looking for a European city to have these two people who are both in the arts. She's working in the publishing industry, he's working in a museum, and they thought, as they scouted the United States, they thought Boston was a very European-looking city. It doesn't hurt that we have the film tax credits, so that makes it appealing.
The wedding, we don't know if it actually takes place or not, but it's supposed to take place at the Turner Hill Estate in Ipswich, so you get a lot of scenery up there when they go for the wine tasting.
You know what I learned? I had always wondered this about movies, especially when I see scenes shot in churches. When you sign over your building, Mahesh Das, president of Boston Architectural College, told me this on the show because they shot some of it at BAC. You don't know, they don't give you the script, so you have no idea what's going to happen.
Oh, there was a scandal
in
about
your
that,
building.
wasn't
Yeah.
there?
Well, so in this film, there are some scenes that you would think, if I knew the subject matter, would I actually turn my building over to it? But apparently they don't know.
We have a little sound from the movie, by the way, the drama. Here it is.
So I want to say this thing about her laugh. Do you know how it's kind of like, it's very cute, but it's also kind of like...
Repulsive even.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if she laughs, then I can point it out and be like, and there it is. You know? I did. I said, if everyone knows he's a piece of shit, then why are we doing a retrospective in the first place? It's like, it's so incredibly irresponsible. No one ever cares until it's too late. And then it always ends up backfiring on me.
Okay, that's enough. I have no idea what that's about. Okay, so...
He's writing his speech to her for the wedding.
Okay, This is a much longer discussion, but since it's a Boston film, what's the greatest Boston film ever?
Oh, that's a hard...
There's so many.
Is this your way of getting into Pink Panther?
No. No, what would you... Okay,
well, there was a list the other day. Where did I see it? Maybe it was in Boston
Magazine, or?
No, I think it was Boston Axios.
So what
and
would
they
it
were
be?
doing like this, the ones like The Departed, like the mob-type Irish
what would yours
martyr.
be?
Then the love stories about Fenway Park.
What
Good Will Hunting.
Oh,
Good
that's
Will
a good
It has
one.
to be Good Will
That
Hunting.
is
Well,
an awfully good
Spotlight's
movie.
pretty...
Yeah.
That's right up
Did
there.
they shoot that? They did shoot that here.
I think they did.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think they shot it here.
How about you? Say something. Good. Okay. That went well.
What was the Steve McQueen film? The
Thomas Crown Affair.
Yeah,
Thomas
that's a good
Crown
one.
Affair. Oh my God, that's an old one with Steve McQueen. Then they redid it again, right?
Yeah, with Rene Russo.
Yes, Rene Russo. That's
And
right.
Pierce
and Pierce
Brosnan.
Bronson. They redid that again.
My dinner with Andrea was great here. No, okay, so just want to see.
I so thought this was a setup for more hamburger. Because remember, they shot the Pink Panther here with Steve Martin.
Oh, I didn't know you were serious when you said that before. They did?
They shot, and part of it was at the Wang Center, yeah.
I want Hamburg. This one's Steve Martin. If you haven't seen it, when he is learning how to speak English so he can be a spy like an American. It's one of the funniest scenes.
Was Ted shot here?
Play that again, please. I talked over.
Mark
Play it
Wahlberg?
again.
I would like to buy a burger.
Jim, has Jared heard you say "Knight Topo Chicho"?
Of course he has, 1,000,000 times.
Say it for him again.
Andy, I love you.
Okay, fine. What are you doing on this?
I actually had never heard that.
Never heard it?
I don't know how I missed that.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
it's
you.
great. Yeah, we love that.
Okay, good. What are you doing on the show?
Speaking of beloved, your Mary Grant, your beloved.
I
we
love
love
Mary
her.
Grant.
We
She
love
is
her.
fabulous.
That's
She's
College of
great.
Art.
She's going to be on the show. We'll talk about Hampshire College closing and a bunch of other things, of course. Kiefer Glenshaw, we've had him on the show quite a few times already, too, because he does this amazing things. This cellist is a cellist and an endurance athlete. He's the one who played the cello for 24 hours at one point, and then went into the woods of Lexington for secret early morning performance. And then we'll talk about his latest 24-hour effort, which is coming up next week. This one invites people to improv with him. Improvise. And then Kieran Schmidt of Secret Boston, the guide to the hidden things of Boston, will take us through the places that you can visit off the Freedom Trail in advance of Patriots Day.
Wow, so you can't really do anything because the cello is two hands. You can't like drink or eat or anything for 24 hours.
It's very difficult, yeah. So he has to train for this.
You ever thought of having Mr. Ed on your show, by the way?
Do your Mr. Ed.
Wilbur, open the door.
I had no idea that all of this was residing in you. Can you give us your Katharine Hepburn?
No, next time Jared will give his.
Can you do your Katharine
Do a quick
Hepburn?
one, go
Really
ahead.
quick one?
Come on.
Like Halla lilies are in bloom again.
That was great.
That really does it to me. Okay, thank you. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
He'll be on 2 o'clock today, Culture
Thank
Show.
you. So we
with
should
Jared
go see
Bowen.
this movie with the problems.
I think so.
All right, okay.
Bye.
We've been speaking with
See you
Jared
later.
Bowen. He is the GBH Executive Arts Editor, host of The Culture Show, which airs right after the Curiosity Desk. Jared's Culture Show is at 2 o'clock here on 89.7 GBH. Thank you, Jared. Coming up after this quick break, it is our favorite day of the week here at Boston Public Radio. It is Am I the A-Hole edition. Wait a minute. Am I the A-Hole Day? Meatball edition.
Correct.
I'm Marjorie Regan. He's Jim Browder. This is BPR 89.7 GBH, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Dr. Deborah Birx remembers watching the State of the Union when President George W. Bush announced the president's emergency plan for AIDS relief.
Americans are not going to stand by and watch the nation's most productive age group die.
Today, the Trump administration is dramatically changing foreign aid, including PEPFAR. Dr. Birx weighs in on All Things Considered from NPR News.
Today at 4, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you. And the Boston Speaker Series, announcing its upcoming season at Symphony Hall for 7 evenings featuring Pete Buttigieg, former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, war photographer Lindsay Addario, and former U.S. Ambassador to China Nicholas Burns. BostonSpeakers.org. And Schneider Electric, partnering with the Boston Athletic Association in their work to guide practices that reduce environmental impact and ensure their operations are more sustainable year after year. Learn more at se.com.
Welcome back to BPR on GBH 89.7. Marjorie and Jim Browder is streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Well, it's another edition, a Thursday edition of Am I the A-Hole? We start today's prompt where most of our dilemmas begin. That's in the home. Today's issue involves, as Marjorie says, a meatball. It's a married couple cannot see eye to eye about their dinner plans. Let me try to explain this clearly. While the husband claims he does 95% of the cooking, I think that's probably true, he acknowledges that one spaghetti dish his wife does make is superior to anything he cooks up. But after cooking the perfect dish, in his opinion, many, many, many times, she has started altering the recipe to save time, because the whole thing apparently takes 5 hours.
First, yeah, but he only asked her to do it like maybe every other
couple
month.
months. Okay, well, and then it's clear who Marjorie thinks is the a-hole.
That's right.
Now, one, she says, it takes too much time to chop the onions, so I'm not putting onions in the meatballs. And then she decides that she's going to make spaghetti and meatballs without meatballs, otherwise known as spaghetti. So he proclaims that he wants the spaghetti and meatball dish exactly how she's perfected it. No changes. He doesn't ask her to do it often, as Marjorie said, every couple of months. No substitutions, no shortcuts. She says he's talking smack about her cooking and should just accept the labor-free meal and quit complaining. So who's the jerk here? When someone offers to cook something to you, is it ever acceptable to dictate the recipe to them? In which case, if you answer that in the negative, then he is the a-hole. Or is she the a-hole because it's his comfort dish and he wants it exactly as he has always done it, because that's why it's called a comfort dish. The number is 877-301-8970. Who's the a-hole?
The a-hole is absolutely this woman who is tormenting her husband by refusing to chop up the onions, even though he offered to chop up the onions, so she wouldn't even have to do the onions.
She is cooking the dish, not him.
But he stepped in. He said, "You don't want to chop up all these onions? I'll chop all the onions for you." And then she's not going to let him do that. The sauce doesn't taste the same at all. The meatballs don't taste the same at all. And then it's spaghetti and meatballs. That's the dish. He's loved it. He's loved it for years, the whole time they've been married. He only asked her to do it every other month. And the next time she cooks it, no meatballs.
No meatballs, yeah. Now that, I would have to admit,
meatballs.
Even though I think he's the a-hole, having spaghetti and meatballs
How is
without
he the
meatballs,
a-hole?
well, I'll explain to you if I may. May I explain to you? Fine. Maybe you should be open to a little bit of change in life. Can I give you my perfect example?
Okay.
What is my favorite comfort food? You know the answer. You probably won't remember.
I don't remember.
Shepherd's pie.
Oh, shepherd's pie.
I made shepherd's pie the exact same way for 35 years.
I know, you changed it.
And then all of a sudden, Dory
Dory
Greenspan
Greenspan.
came in from the New York Times, came into our studio, introduced us to a Mediterranean shepherd's pie. What do I make now, Marjorie?
You make the Mediterranean shepherd's pie.
Right, because I
But
was
here's the
open
thing.
to change.
Here's the thing. There are probably dishes that you've made for your children. Maybe you didn't cook when your kids were
I
little.
did.
Okay, so the
Some.
dishes you made for your kids their whole life. There are things I made for my children my whole life, and they want them the same way, even when they're all grown up.
Well, can I tell you? No. Let me just say, I'll give you an example. One of my older daughter's favorite dishes was rice pilaf.
Mhm.
And what I decided to do once she got a little older is make it without the rice. So she would say, "I'd like rice pilaf." I said, "Sadly, honey, we're only having pilaf. I don't know what pilaf is, but we're having it tonight because we can't afford the rice." You know, in all seriousness, looking a gift
You're not
horse
supposed
in
to
the
change
mouth,
it. You're not supposed to change it.
I would admit that taking the meatball out of spaghetti and meatballs is a limiting kind of thing.
Why don't you take the spaghetti out, too, and you can just spoon the sauce.
Here is, by the way, an anonymous texter has a better argument for him being the a-hole than my argument is. Why doesn't he just learn to cook it himself? If he likes it a particular way, make the damn spaghetti and meatballs
Lots
yourself.
of people are very particular about their spaghetti sauce. I mean, my former husband, Italian family, his mother made this great
She did?
It was great spaghetti sauce. There's an art to it. Not everybody can make a great spaghetti sauce. So I think she was really good. She perfected her spaghetti sauce over the years. He asked her, and he says he cooks 95% of the time.
Yeah, he does.
But he just wants her every month or two to make this special spaghetti
She doesn't
meatballs
want
with
to
her
do it. It's
special
5
sauce.
hours. She doesn't want to do it. And so he should
Well,
be
then-
like a decent husband.
Then maybe he shouldn't cook 5% of the time
Well,
either.
again, he should try to have an open mind. We're going to get to your calls in a second. And if if she doesn't include meatballs in the spaghetti and meatballs, there's always Chef Boyardee. Open the damn can and pop those little orange things right in there.
Oh, yeah. The spaghetti meatballs of Chef Boyardee, the orange thing, the meatballs are about like a quarter of an inch big.
Can I tell you something? When
Her
I was a little
meatballs
kid,
were the size of golf balls, Jim. Golf balls.
I would eat the meatballs out of Chef Boyardee without even eating the, quote, spaghetti or the rings. I would just eat the balls.
Well, there you go. Then you'd be fine if you just grab spaghetti meatballs with just the little teeny tiny meatballs and
would.
nothing else. No sauce, no
Love the
spaghetti.
color, love the taste.
Okay, we have to take
Who's
some calls
the a-hole?
here.
Dan in Dorchester, you're first. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Hi, so I'm with you, Jim. He's the a-hole.
Why?
It happens to me at my house all the time, too. I do a lot of the cooking. If I have a recipe I like and I change it up, my wife gets really upset about it. And it's just like, you know what? Fine. If you want it your way, you cook it.
Beautiful.
Otherwise, I'm cooking. It can be my way.
Can I tell you, Dan, that
Ooh,
was so
you
much
don't fool
better
around,
than my
Dan.
explanation. That was concise, pointed, beautiful. Dan, thank you for your call. Why don't you respond to Dan? I mean, what is wrong with what he said? If you don't like it my way, it's that, you hear what I'm saying?
Because I think that there's an art to spaghetti sauce. That's
But
what
she
I
doesn't
think.
want to make it that way. She doesn't want to make it that way.
She's been making it
She's
this way.
tired of she doesn't want to include the onions.
She doesn't want to include the meatballs.
Or the meatballs. Or the meatballs. No, again, I agree. That's a tougher hill to climb.
Spaghetti and meatballs.
Yeah, you keep saying that. It's not anymore. It's spaghetti.
Okay.
With sauce and no onions.
Okay. 877-301-8097. Let's go to Judy in Falmouth. Thank you for calling, Judy.
Hello, Judy.
Hi there. I love your show. It's
Thanks.
the reason I listen to GBH.
You're the best. Thank you.
All right. I don't know who the a-hole is. It's not as clear. My husband is a fabulous cook.
Yeah.
He does all the cooking. He was having shoulder surgery. He said, "You're going to need to cook." I said, "I got good news and bad news." He said, "Give me the bad news." I said, "The bad news is I'm going to be cooking. The good news is you're going to lose weight." So I have to be honest with you. I followed his recipes. He stood there and he would say, "Do it this way and do it that way," because I knew if I did it on my own, it would really suck. So I
What
don't
an
know
honest
who the a-hole
person.
is.
Judy, before you go away, even if you don't know who the a-hole is, that's a fabulous story, by the way. Are you of the belief, Marjorie, I don't mean this critically, but she's been very small-minded in this discussion. Does spaghetti and meatballs have to include meatballs to be spaghetti and meatballs?
I don't think there's any law that it has to.
Exactly. There's no law. Judy, brilliant.
Well,
it seems a little funny. It
It does seem a little
in
funny.
that it's called spaghetti and meatballs.
I
Say
would
hi to the
say
husband for us.
If there's
Thank
no
you.
meatballs, Jim,
It's
it's
not
just
spaghetti,
spaghetti.
meatballs.
It's just spaghetti. Okay, a lot of people,
If
though,
you
they're
ever
on your
altered,
side.
excuse me, before
What?
you tell me people on my side, what's that dish, the one dish you make? What's it called?
It's not prune chicken. I've moved on from that.
What is it?
I make Olivia's chicken now.
Okay, whatever.
And I make it the same way every
You never
time.
alter it.
No, if my kids are coming home, especially my son, because
Olivia's the wife of what's his name, right?
Of Todd English.
Todd
That's right.
English,
It's in his
right.
cookbook. It's a great cookbook, by the way. And Olivia's going to make it the same way. But when my
Did
son
you
was
have yoga class with you? The yoga
his wife
class with
Yes,
her? Yeah,
with her. Yeah,
yeah.
she's great. They're no longer married.
Well, whatever.
But the the chicken dish is made after her. And he said his kids loved it. When I saw that, I thought, I'll make this for my kids.
Mm.
And my kids love it. So when my kids are home and I'm going to do something, I
Yeah.
will make something that I made the same way. Like my tuna fish, Jim.
Yeah.
It's tuna with Cane's mayonnaise. I've been making it the same way forever. I'm not going
And
to
I
change
have to
it.
say, it's pretty good.
And,
It'd be better with a meatball, but it's really good.
and probably this didn't happen.
Spicy meatball.
When you come home from college or come home when you're a grown up,
Yeah.
a
You
lot of
expect it,
mothers
okay,
make
fine.
the same food. They don't say, "We're having spaghetti and meatballs tonight, sweetheart," but
Hold the meatballs.
hold the meatballs. Screw you. I don't want to take the time to make them. So
You
just
said
eat
a
the
lot of
spaghetti.
people agree with me. Let's hear it. Who's agreeing with me?
Oh, did I miss why he can't just make this dish
Exactly,
himself?
exactly.
I feel there has to be more to than she's. Why is she weaponizing the spaghetti and meatballs?
Weaponizing.
Oh, this person's on the side of the wife, actually.
What?
He's just clueless that he must have done something wrong for her to react with such a hostile way over the meatballs.
Would you make a dish, by the way? You say
You guys both seem to be in good spirits today. Jim is not even being an a-hole. It must be because you opened the show with a fun segment. There you go. I wanted the fun
I love
segment.
that sound, that little bell thing.
Yeah.
It really puts me in a good mood.
She's the a-hole. He's the meatball.
Oh, beautiful. 877-30. Well, don't give the number. There are lots of calls. Take a call, Marjorie.
Okay, let's go to Rama in the car. Hi, Rama in the car.
Welcome.
Hello. I don't know who's the a-hole, but I do know she does not love him if she ever did. But
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
That's right.
My mama. When I asked her to make, and it was a 5 or 6 hour process for my mom, 5 or 6 hour process for my Grammy. If I asked my mom, I really wanted the sauce, even if I wasn't living there anymore, Mom would say, "All right, I'll do it next Sunday or next Saturday. You available?" I'll say, "Yeah, I'll come over." And she would make that sacrifice.
There you go.
Because she loved me unconditionally. This woman does not love.
Wow.
She does not.
This is pretty deep.
Rama,
here. No,
thank you
made
for the
your
call.
point
There's a lot of people
beautifully.
on the same. Here's Woody, the UPS driver, who says, "I've heard enough. They should just get a divorce. That's it." And Diane from Newton, she should go over and help negotiate the Iran deal.
What'd she
Here's
say?
her suggestion. She should just make extra meatballs and freeze them.
That's a great point. By the way, my mother was sort of like you. You said when the kid comes home,
Yeah.
same dish. She would boil the hot dog the exact same way every time. So it was her signature dish. She dropped the hot dog in boiling water, let it sit there for like 90 seconds, take it out with tongs because the water's boiling, shove it in a roll, and I'd eat it. So always the same.
Always the same.
No variation.
You don't want any grill action. You don't want
Same
anything
mustard.
else. You say mustard. You don't want to mix it up. You want it to be the
Does
same.
anybody boil hot dogs anymore, by the way?
I don't know, but I do remember that when I was a kid. That was pretty gross, wasn't it? Then you have to peel the skin off.
The first
it had
utensil.
That skin on the outside, like Jell-O.
The first gadget we ever had when I was growing up as a kid.
Hot dog peeler.
We had a hot dog, like a hot dog rotisserie thing. We ate a lot of hot dogs. Just me and my mother. It'd have a little prong where you shove the hot dog right onto the prong, so it went into the whole thing, and it like a rotisserie.
Was that
it
one of
turned
those
around.
as seen on TV things?
I think that was prior
Like
to it.
the
I don't
Vegematic?
think TVs had been invented actually when we were making hot dogs.
ShamWow.
ShamWow, yeah. By the way, we haven't done. We're going to get back to this in 10. We haven't done an as seen on TV discussion in months. We should maybe tomorrow or the next day do that.
So sometimes if you go to CVS or Walgreens, they have it as seen on TV
They have
section.
Flobies, a lot of them.
Have you been to the as seen on TV section?
No.
They have the cheapest looking things.
Do you know at the Cambridge Side Galleria, they used to have as seen on TV store. The whole store.
Did you ever go in?
Did I go in? I moved a cot in. Did I move in? Stephen Watertown, you're next on BPR here. Hi.
I'm going the other direction. First of all, I think she's the a-hole.
Why is that?
Absolutely.
Why? Come on. Compromise. I mean, let me just tell you that my wife and I cook pretty much every night of the week side by side.
Oh, that's
nice. Very nice.
We have the ultimate teamwork thing going. We share the shopping. She's on her way home now from probably with a big hunk of salmon from H Mart in Central Square.
Nice.
And one of my staple things that I do is I make a kick-ass turkey burger.
Ooh.
You have to doctor the ground turkey though, because ground turkey by itself
Bland. It's bland.
So what are you putting in it? What are you putting in it, Steve?
I use an island teriyaki by Soyve, and then some garlic powder and ground pepper into the meat before you grill it. I stick finger holes into the meat. I wear gloves, and I pour this teriyaki into these holes, and then smush it all together so it's all infused in the meat. And I grill it up, and I smother it with sautéed onions too.
Now,
Ooh, that sounds great.
In the spirit of
she
the
didn't
wife,
want. She wouldn't want to put the onions in either, Steve. She said it didn't make any difference whether you had onions there or not.
Yeah.
He volunteered to chop them up, and she said no.
Steve, I love that you're doing this side by side. That's a beautiful story and a beautiful image.
Hey.
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
No, it is. I'm serious. It's great. Say hi to everybody for us. Steve, thank you very much for the call.
Here's another texter.
That's a beautiful thing. You do it together, Marjorie, side by side.
Why doesn't the cheap SOB take his wife out to dinner? He can get it his way, and she can get it her way.
Can I tell you something? Well, I haven't said this. I want to say it really clearly here. A good meatball. Is there? We should have said this like 20 minutes ago.
It's great.
Is there like the satisfaction you
Thank
feel?
you. That is why you get spaghetti
Yeah,
and meatballs.
yeah.
So you can put the Parmesan cheese on top of the meatballs, cut a little piece off, wrap the spaghetti all around.
You know
with
what's really
Parmesan
good?
sauce, and then you stab the piece of meatball and you shove it in your mouth.
If you have great bread,
Great
with
bread.
spaghetti and meatballs,
Very
which you
important.
need, would you not agree? One of the things that is
Absolutely.
underrated, which really matters, is you put a little butter on the bread. You add a little Parmesan to the bread, and then you make like a mini meatball sandwich. You slice a portion of the meatball. You with me so far?
I'm with you.
Slap it right on that piece of bread with a little butter and a little Parmesan, and you eat that
So
thing.
imagine how you would feel if you were looking forward to that all day. The once every month or 2 months, your wife is going to make you the spaghetti and meatballs.
Meatballs, yeah.
Thinking about it, and you get home and you sit down at the table with your little piece of bread and your little butter, ready to make the meatball sandwich, and there's no meatballs.
Well, actually, that wouldn't happen because I would do the following. If my daughter still lived at home, I'd say, honey, can I have the Chef Boyardee and a can opener, please? You essentially adapt kind of thing. 877-301-8997. We're running out of time. Let's try Holly in Cambridge.
Hi,
Who's
Holly.
the a-hole?
Hi, can you hear me?
We can, perfectly. Take it away.
So, former chef and caterer, gotta say, both marinara sauce and meatballs actually get better a day or two later. So they're really easy to make back burner, ahead of time.
There you go.
So I think they're both sad rather than a-holes because what's happening is there's no love or sex going on in this marriage.
No, that's right.
You could substitute
no meatballs, no sex.
You could substitute sex for this conversation that they're having, and they're not having it. So I think it's really sad. It's just broken down. If it's broken down.
Let me tell you.
When you hear the people who've called and who are loving and having a good time with their partners, cooking together or cooking for each other, it's a joyous thing. If you've gotten to the point where you can't even put the freaking meatball in the meatballs, like you better go to a marriage counselor really fast.
You should have been the first caller. That was
You're
fabulous.
so right, though, Holly.
Holly.
Did you see the gentleman that called
Thanks,
before and
Holly.
said he's got the big slab of salmon and he's taking it
He and
home?
his wife are cooking.
And
are
they're
they
going to
cooking
cook it
together
together
or is it somebody
tonight
else?
over the kitchen sink or the stove or something, maybe over the grill.
Something, yeah.
I mean, they're a happily married couple, Jim.
Not as Holly said, not this group.
Would make the meatballs for him.
Will you listen to this, Edgar?
A little bit of it.
So, what do you have any idea what we're talking about? Or
Yeah,
no,
I mean, vaguely. We're talking about can you basically, if somebody is cooking for you, can you tell them how to do it? Is that sort of
The question is basically this. If your favorite dish from your beloved is spaghetti and meatballs, only once a month, every 2 months, and
It's a spicy meatball.
the love of
Thank
your
you.
life wants to make the spaghetti and meatballs without the meatballs.
Why though? Why does she want to make it without
Because it's a lot of work. No, I can answer. It's 5 hours of work.
She hates them. That's why.
I think they gotta negotiate. They gotta get to the negotiating table. And if like once a month is too much, maybe it's twice a year, maybe it's an anniversary thing. Sit down, talk it out. Hear about. Okay, it's a lot of work. You can't get to it. Can you? I love it when you do it for me. Can we do it twice a year? Pick those dates, make it
Did
special.
you eat Chef Boyardee when you were a kid? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you? Marjorie is.
I would.
The little orange meatballs were they spectacular?
Oh, they're
You're popping them
so
in one at a
good.
time.
They were in the
absolutely.
SpaghettiOs, too.
How upset
SpaghettiOs,
were
yeah.
you when you
SpaghettiOs.
opened them up and there weren't quite as many meatballs
Absolutely.
in an
You're
individual
so
can
Jim.
as
You are
expected?
100% right on that.
And you know what I thought? I was entrepreneurial when I was younger.
Go
Like
on.
now, my view was if they had a can that was only meatballs.
Yeah,
Can you imagine how huge that would have been for the chef and
It's a
Mrs.
$1 billion
Boyardee?
idea sitting on the table.
What are you doing on your show there?
Well, we've got back by popular demand. Do you know Mark Philben from the Globe? He's the Ask the Remodeler
Oh,
guy.
yes, I actually do.
Fantastic.
good. Oh,
really,
good.
really smart, really knowledgeable. So we have him on. We've had him on a few times, and it's been great. So he's coming in again. We're going to open up the phone lines and the
Great.
text lines and give people an opportunity to ask the Remodeler all of their remodeling and home improvement and DIY questions.
Yeah.
That's fabulous.
Yeah,
we'll be
we're
listening.
Yeah, we're excited.
Oh, I mean, the good thing on pollen too.
Yeah.
I learned a lot of pollen this year,
A
Jim.
lot of pollen.
A lot of pollen.
High to extreme.
Climate change.
Climate change. Yet again.
Okay.
We'll be listening.
Edgar,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Thank you for listening to another edition of Boston Public Radio. To keep up with us 24/7 way of our podcast, or check out our TikTok page. Tomorrow we're going to be back at the Boston Public Library for peek at the Boston Public Library's America 250-year exhibition that's celebrating the 250 years with BPL President David Leonard, plus live music Friday with Tracy Bonham, our media analysis segment Press Play with local woman Sue O'Connell and the Globe's Abdallah Fayyad, and a Boston Marathon preview with BAA President
great.
CEO Jack Fleming. And that's, of course, Boston Athletic Association.
Can we cut the thank yous for other people? Because somebody's leaving us today.
Who's
Let's
leaving
just
us?
Ronan's
Ronan
last
is
day.
leaving us. I feel so close to Ronan. I've met his mother, his father,
Yeah.
his uncle, a few of the cousins, a
You know
couple
what he
of the
said
second
when he
cousins
started
came
as
over?
intern? Jamie said, "How long you gonna last?" He says, "Only until all my relatives have been on the show." And Ronan, you have been nothing short of fabulous. Stay connected to us. We love you, and you're gonna have a great career in the business. I hope you do it.
Yeah, and thank you again to John LaCroix Parker for everything he does. His birthday was last Friday, so happy birthday to John Parker. Okay, stay tuned to the
Were
Curiosity
you ever
Desk.
an intern? Were you ever an intern before you did your first when you're
No.
covering the poll commission in Sherborne
I was a
or
stringer.
wherever it was?
That's what they used to call him in those days.
Okay,
Stringer.
whatever. We're done.
Okay, Curiosity
Ronan, good
Desk
luck.
starts at
See
2
you
o'clock,
soon.
right after us, and Jared and the Culture Show starts. No, I'm sorry. The Curiosity Desk starts
Whatever
right
it
after us, and the Culture Show starts at 2 o'clock. Only 4 or 5 mistakes in that one little segment there. I'm Marjorie Egan.
I'm Jim Meatball Browdy.
You sort of are.
Oh, thank you. I meant that in a loving way, I'm sure. Bye.
Mamma mia, that's a...
From the stories of centuries past to discoveries that will define our future, How Did We Get Here's, how-tos, and more. Journey with us down the rabbit hole on the Curiosity Desk. Coming up next on GBH 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And the Office of the Massachusetts State Treasurer. The Unclaimed Property Division is holding unclaimed funds. New properties are added often. To see if you have unclaimed money, you can visit findmassmoney.gov.
And Liberty Mutual Insurance. Liberty believes progress happens when people feel secure and exists to help people embrace today and pursue tomorrow. Learn more at libertymutual.com.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Today on the Curiosity Desk. With the Boston Marathon just days away, today's curiosity question: how much faster can us humans get? Now, if you could control all the factors, a runner's diet, their gear, their training regimen, the weather, how many seconds, or is it just fractions of seconds, are waiting to be shaved off our existing records? Then, if only there were a Rosetta Stone for labels on egg cartons. Organic, fresh farm, cage-free, free range. What does it all actually mean for the chickens and us egg consumers? Plus, it's the April edition of Ask the Remodeler. Got a project you've been putting off? Our expert is standing by to help. It's all ahead this hour on the Curiosity Desk.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Lakshmi Singh. President Trump has announced a 10-day ceasefire between Lebanon and Israel effective in 4 hours. NPR's Danielle Kurtzleben says the Republican leader is positioning himself as a peacemaker.
In a social media post, Trump said he recently spoke to Lebanese President Joseph Aoun and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and that both agreed to a ceasefire to begin at 5 p.m. Eastern. This week, diplomats from Israel and Lebanon met with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Washington. Israel has been occupying parts of southern Lebanon and bombing the Iran-backed group Hezbollah, which itself has continued to launch strikes into Israel. This fighting has complicated attempts at ending the war in Iran. It's not immediately clear how an agreement between the two countries might affect Hezbollah, which is not controlled by the Lebanese state. Trump also wrote that he will invite Aoun and Netanyahu to the White House for talks. Danielle Kurtzleben, NPR News.
Announcement of a truce comes just days after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited Israeli forces in southern Lebanon, where his government had widened its offensive aimed at eradicating the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran. Israeli media report Netanyahu has convened an urgent security cabinet call to discuss the ceasefire. Congressional Democrats in the U.S. are still pursuing a resolution to limit the president's war powers. Democratic Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia spoke with NPR's Morning Edition.
We're going to force a war powers vote every week until this war is over, and we're either going to end it or we're going to make sure everyone in America knows who was responsible for it. And the second option is that we're now writing the defense bill and dealing with appropriations, including an administration request to dramatically increase the defense budget for the Iran war. Those appropriations bills take 60 votes. And so we are not going to just write a blank check for another endless war.
Senator Kaine speaking with NPR. Investigators in Virginia say former Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax fatally shot his wife and killed himself. They say it happened overnight. Megan Pauly of VPM News reports a Democrat was previously accused of sexual assault, which he denied.
Fairfax County, Virginia Police Chief Kevin Davis says the community is shocked by this high-profile murder-suicide that was apparently tied to an ongoing domestic dispute over a messy divorce. Davis said the couple's 2 teenage children were also in the home at the time of the shootings, and one was the 911 caller.
That's horrible news for the family, certainly a traumatic event for those children to live through.
Davis said the department's Victim Services Division is working with the children. Multiple Virginia politicians expressed their heartbreak in statements. State House Speaker Don Scott called it an unspeakable tragedy. For NPR News, I'm Megan Pauly in Richmond, Virginia.
From Washington, this is NPR News.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. After a slow start, Massachusetts is seeing an uptick in brush fires. Dave Celino is chief fire warden for the state's Department of Conservation and Recreation. He says on Tuesday alone there were more than a dozen fires in Massachusetts, and he says recent warm and dry conditions, aided by the wind, have led to more fires.
Folks that are burning brush, campfires that are unattended or not fully extinguished will escape, and that's what we're seeing with the uptick.
Celino says a fire in Greenfield on Tuesday was even caused by sparks from a train. He added that drought conditions over the last few years have led to trees dying and not falling, leaving them susceptible to burning. And Old Tom is making appearances in New England waters once again. Old Tom is an orca, also known as a killer whale or sea wolf. He was spotted earlier this week at Stellwagen Bank, about 6 miles from Provincetown. The story is in the Cape Cod Times. Orcas are pretty rare in the Atlantic. They generally like cooler waters. However, Old Tom bucks that trend, and he's been spotted a few times, starting in 2010 when he was last seen off Nova Scotia, and he generally travels alone. But this time, he was seen with a pod of dolphins. In sports, the Red Sox are off today, back at Fenway tomorrow for a series with the Tigers, and it's going to be the Celtics playing the 76ers to get the playoffs underway on Sunday at the TD Garden. Cloudy 70 today, overcast in mid-50s overnight. We're at 61 right now. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Capital One, offering their dining and entertainment card, Savor. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Details at CapitalOne.com. And listeners like you who donate to this NPR station.
You are listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We are streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. Also, we are back at the Boston Public Library live and for free tomorrow, so come join us in person if you can. Now, on Monday, over 30,000 people will lace up their shoes to run the 130th Boston Marathon. And as the runners try to optimize every aspect of Monday's race, you can expect a lot of carbo loading and all kinds of varieties of running shoes hitting the streets along the way. Today's question: what does it take to engineer the perfect marathon run? Here with us in Studio 3 to help answer that is Peko Hosoi. She's a professor of mechanical engineering at MIT and the co-director of the MIT Sports Lab. Also is Andy Harland, a visiting professor from Loughborough University who researches sports technology. Welcome to you both. Glad to have you here on the Curiosity Desk.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Perfect. Good to be here.
So I want to start by talking a little bit about the fact that we all know, I think, or most of us know, that these runners are all going to go on a journey of 26.2 miles from Hopkinton to Copley Square. But meanwhile, each one of them, there's also going to be an incredible transformation or journey happening inside of their body. There's all sorts of things that are going to happen over the 2+ to 6 or 8+ hours that each of these runners is running along. And I want to dive inside of the body and talk a little bit about what we know and don't know about how the body is processing all of the stuff that is happening as these people are doing this incredible thing.
Yeah, that's a perfect place to start. So the first thing about marathon running is it's all about energy management.
Yeah.
Where are you going to get your energy from? So our bodies, we like to burn carbs. Humans, that's where our primary
A lot of
energy
us like
is.
to eat carbs too, so that's a good thing.
Exactly.
You like to eat them, we like to burn them.
So
Great.
that works perfectly.
Yeah.
It works perfectly for us. So one of the interesting things is we store about 2,000 calories of carbs in our body at any time.
Really? It's just kind of hanging out, waiting to be used.
Exactly. You've got 2,000. I've got 2,000. Andy's got 2,000. And when you're running, you start depleting those carbs. And the interesting thing about the marathon is, for a marathon, you need slightly more than you've got in your body.
Oh, interesting.
Right? So like half marathon, you're okay. You can use what you got. 10,000 meters, you can use. But once you get to marathon, you have to eat in order to make it to the end of the race.
Really?
Yeah. And
Okay.
and if you don't eat, this is something you've probably heard from marathoners. You do something which is called bonking.
Yeah, bonking, hitting the wall, so to speak. Oh, bonking. Bonking's an interesting term for it.
I know, right? Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
So bonking basically means that you've depleted your store of carbs. So it's not.
And is that what that is simply what causes that? Is like basically you've run out of the carb storage
Exactly.
that you have in your body, and that's that feeling of all of a sudden you can't move.
You got no
Yeah.
energy left. But have you ever bonked in a race or on a bike ride before?
No, I mean I don't think so.
Yeah.
I've never run a marathon, so I mean I've gotten tired, but I don't know that. Yeah, I mean I would say I've probably hit a wall before.
Yeah.
What I would describe as I'm done.
Yeah,
sure.
I have not run a marathon, but I do some long biking, and I have bonked
Yeah.
before, and you just don't want to go.
Yeah.
Your body is like, you know what? Leave me. Everybody go on without me. Right?
Andy, have you bonked?
Afraid not. No, the marathon's too long for me, I'm afraid.
Yeah, fair enough.
But the great thing is you can fix that by a gel or one of these shop, as long as you get some carbs back into you.
Yeah.
So slow down, take in some more carbs, and
Yeah.
you're going to be good to go.
Is there anything that's happening besides the simple, sort of, it sounds, what you're saying is a fairly simple thing, which is that you've got X number of carbs, or, you've got X number of calories that you're going to burn.
Yeah.
And then, that's all that's happening in the body. But when you're running for such a long period of time, are there other systems that are sort of coming online or doing things that the body is not normally doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to say something about oxygen, then I'm going to turn over to Andy to say something about mechanics.
Perfect.
When you're burning those carbs, there's different ways you can burn carbs. You can do it anaerobically or aerobically.
Okay.
People might have heard those terms.
Sure.
Aerobically just means that you're using oxygen to burn them, and
Okay.
that is the most efficient way to do it. So for a marathon, you want to be burning aerobically. To burn aerobically, you need to be taking in oxygen. So the limiting factor is how fast you can take in oxygen.
Oh.
Right? And so some people, so you can train to get better at this. You might have heard the term VO2 max.
Yeah,
Sometimes runners are training to increase their VO2 max. That's what the VO2 max is. It's how fast can you take in the oxygen to burn those carbs. And you can train to improve it somewhat, but honestly, some people are just better at it, and some people,
Yeah.
we always hear about athletes.
Sure.
If you want to be a great athlete, choose your parents wisely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's
oxygen.
So oxygen is another one. But the other thing is just sort of biomechanics. So I don't know if Andy, you want to jump in and say something
Let's
about
go, Andy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Take us down the mechanical.
I'll do my best. So Peko's absolutely right. There are some fundamental principles that we can do calculations with, and we can understand how the physiology of the body works. And then it starts to diverge, right? You've described the different types of athletes that you're going to see on the start line.
Sure.
Humans have evolved to do some certain things very, very well.
Yeah.
Whether or not marathon running is one of them
Is an open question
Yeah, is an
still?
open question. But when you distill it back in my world, when I'm looking at things like technologies for running shoes and design and manufacture running shoes, we're looking at the fact that the elite runners might be taking 30,000 steps in that marathon.
Yeah.
And but the recreation runners are taking maybe 60,000 runners.
So that's a wide.
It's a wide
it's a
thing.
wide-
And when we all know that when you run, you put multiples of your body weight through your feet.
Yeah.
But of course, your body weight can vary massively from an elite runner to guys that are running recreationally and
Totally.
so on. And so what is very difficult to predict is exactly how the biomechanics of each individual athlete will not only start, but by the end of the race, when they've been up and down the hills and they're fatigued, their body is processing differently by the time they finish the race. And your body is constantly trying to adapt in its biomechanics to move you as efficiently as it can. So by the end of the race, it's no surprise you see all kinds of running techniques relative to what you see at the
Some
beginning.
things that you might not even call running, but that's fine.
But absolutely, it's more than I can do. So any technique is good if it gets you across the line.
You're listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. We're talking with MIT's Peko Hosoi and Loughborough University's Andy Harland about how to optimize the ultimate marathon run. Andy, I wonder if you could talk more about shoes, because this is something you've done a lot of research and studying on. I mean, and it's interesting to think about because, when we talk about athletics, I think a lot of sports, there's a fair amount of equipment, and that is, that's a factor in how well the athlete performs. Like what bat a baseball player is using is obviously going to have an impact on how well they hit. But when it comes to running, and at the elite level, this is serious competitive athletics. The only piece of equipment you really have are your shoes. I mean, that's kind of it.
Yep.
They're a massive part of what you're talking about. And to come back to my earlier point, I mean, if you take a baseball bat, for example, there is one point of contact.
Yeah.
You've got to channel all your expertise in designing a bat into that one moment.
Yeah.
You've got multiple thousand points of contact with the road when you're running, which can be a huge opportunity, but it can also be a huge risk. So energy lost, that's multiplied by 10, 20, 30,000 times every time that shoe's hitting the ground. But savings in energy, efficiency in energy. And yes, it's about the shoe and the way the shoe deforms, stores energy and returns it to your next stride. But it can also, and we've seen a lot of this in very recent times where you've seen very significant changes in shoe design for marathon running. And they're about, in two simple concepts, they're about the stiffness of the shoe, which is its ability to efficiently store and return the energy. But they're also about something called stack height, which is the
Say that again, stack height?
Stack height. So this is, in simple terms, how high is the shoe off the ground, but also what angle is it putting your foot at. So if you can return that energy into forward momentum, then your shoe could be offering you that advantage. And a lot of these marathon attempts that we've seen recently, which have been sponsored by the brands to showcase their new shoes, have been trying to optimize these properties, sometimes outside of the rules, right?
I was going to say, so where do you sort of draw? Where is the line between this is just a shoe that is like optimized, and this is a piece of equipment that is accelerating the runner forward, or whatever it is? Like who's drawing that line? I guess the governing bodies of these sports. Is that it?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite questions because oftentimes these governing bodies don't necessarily have engineers on the panels. And so then there are terms that we have as engineers use to describe shoes, which somebody who is maybe a coach wouldn't use. So
terms such as?
So for example, a spring.
Yes.
Right. So a spring. So for a while, when we were looking at the Paralympics, and so the sprinters in the Paralympics actually have springs on their legs, which can make them go now faster than an able-bodied Olympian. So there were rules that were written that said, okay, you cannot include springs or mechanisms that make you go faster.
Right.
But the reality is, every shoe is a spring, right? Because a spring is something where you store some elastic energy and it gives it back.
Right.
Right. So that term spring means something very different to the shoe designers than it does to the people who are running the races.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So we've been, marathons have been run, modern marathons have been run for like 130 years now.
Yeah.
You sort of mentioned in the beginning, Andy, this idea that, whether humans were meant to be doing this is still an open question. I do wonder, at 130 years, what is left to learn about how to optimize our performance in a marathon? Like, what's still on the table for you two when you're looking at this?
Yeah.
It's a really, really good question. I mean, to be honest, the sort of human science part of this is not really my background, but I'll observe something like, we thought we knew how to sprint, and then Usain Bolt came along.
Right.
And no coach would have been saying to young sprinters, oh, you need to be following paths that he did. So there'll always be outliers to sort of statistical outliers who come along and challenge us in terms of what we've been coaching. In terms of footwear. I mean, one of my passions is I call it democratization, right?
Yeah.
So if it's inspiring to have the world's best athletes doing things that none of us could dream of doing and breaking records. And but what does that inspiration mean? The inspiration means we hope that the recreational athlete is going to get out and start running for themselves. So how do we make technologies available to them that they're not going to break world records, but they can make them feel good about themselves, and they can be motivated to do more. So a big part of my world is we know a lot of things from the lab.
Yeah.
But as yet, we're struggling to put that into practice across at affordable price points for the recreational runner. So that's perhaps a little bit less glamorous than the actual excitement of the event. Behind the scenes is how do we mass produce footwear of high quality that's got an ability to perhaps even adapt to your personal running style. To be Peko and I were speaking before we came in. A shoe's got a really difficult task because it's got to support your running style when you're fresh at the beginning of the race, but then 20 miles later on, it's now dealing with a very different set of circumstances.
Right. So
it's the same product.
I sort of think about like the idea of like a NASCAR race or a Formula One race. They swap the tires out, right? Like at some point, and you may change the type of tire depending on where you're at in the race. Ideally, it sounds like if you could, at some point in the marathon, you'd snap your fingers and switch the shoes that you have out, right?
Absolutely.
And that would, in theory, make a difference.
Very much so. Your biomechanics is causing your body to be in a different position. Your momentum is being moved differently, and to about that point of stack height and shoe angle, ideally should be different from the start to the end of the race, but that's difficult without swapping shoes.
Yeah. And so Boston is particularly interesting. I mean, Boston is an iconic race, and it is challenging for a lot of different reasons. Everybody knows Heartbreak Hill, but maybe people might not be so familiar that Boston starts on a downhill.
Yeah.
Right. And so you feel great. You feel like Superman out of the gates.
You got to be managing like how excited you are.
You got to be managing. Your adrenaline's going to be going, and so you're going to feel amazing. But if you are not managing your energy, by the time you get to Heartbreak Hill at mile 20, you're going to be suffering. And like Andy was saying, the shoes you have at that beginning downhill may be very different than the optimal shoes for going up Heartbreak Hill.
Right. Yeah. You listen to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. We're talking with MIT's Peko Hosoi and Loughborough University's Andy Harland about creating, in a way, or optimizing, finding the ultimate marathon run. What is left to achieve in the future of long distance running from where we sit now? What's kind of the near term thing we're trying to get to? Peko, you were on before. We were talking about can we get from 4 spins to 5 spins in ice skating? Like what's the next goal we're trying to get to with long distance running, and what's the ultimate goal that's out there?
Yeah. So the big one, if we're talking about elite runners, is breaking 2 hours.
Right. Which has not officially been done. Right?
Correct. Not in an official. Right. So the official fastest time now, I think, is 2 hours and 35 seconds.
So it's close.
So we are close.
But at this point, we're trying to shave off like a second or 2 or 3, right? I mean, it's like 30 seconds sounds like, somebody should just be able to do that tomorrow. But that's kind of a tough 30 seconds, right?
It's tough. It's tough. And I would say, so you will not see that broken at Boston because Boston has got hills, the weather. Actually, the weather looks pretty good. So we may see some fast times for Boston, but not world record times. So, I mean, you're looking for ideal wind conditions, you're looking for ideal temperatures, you're looking for cloud cover, you're looking for flat track. So all of those things are going to have to come together, and the perfect elite runner to get to that, to break that 2 hour in an official marathon.
And the perfect shoe, right, Andy?
And the perfect shoe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certainly if you're prepared to stretch the laws outside of what's permitted, then
we could do it tomorrow.
You probably could.
I can make you that shoe.
Yeah, and I suspect that's if we are going to see some of these barriers broken, that's probably how they're going to be broken initially, and it's going to be from a shoe that either stretches the limits or takes it further, but it's going to be using techniques like the drafting techniques that have been adopted from cycling, and maybe even finding a location that's perhaps linear, which gives you the opportunity that if you time it right, you could have a tailwind. And a few things conspiring together. What I would say though, if you go right the way back to the mile, the 4 minute mile,
Roger Bannister,
right? And there was what I think we learned from that was there was a huge psychology behind that people thought that couldn't be broken, but once it has been broken, people's aspirations changed. So that's why I'm as somebody who likes competitive sport and prefers people to play to the rules, I'm actually quite supportive of bending the rules to allow something
to show it can be done.
A barrier to be broken.
Yeah. Every ceiling is a future floor. We've been speaking with Peko Hosoi, professor and co-director of the MIT Sports Lab, and Loughborough University professor, sports technology researcher Andy Harland. Thank you both for being with us here.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Just ahead, farm fresh, cage-free, free range. Do these words actually mean anything? Or is it all marketing hype? And what kind of egg is best to drink straight raw, like Rocky style, ahead of the marathon on Monday? Stay with us. This is the Curiosity Desk on GBH. We're going to get into it.
I'm Jared Bowen. Coming up on The Culture Show, Kiefer Glenshaw has turned playing the cello into an endurance sport. His 24-hour Sunset to Sunset piece inviting strangers to improvise with him. Plus, ahead of Patriots Day, we head beyond the Freedom Trail to musket-scarred gravestones and overlooked Revolutionary War sites where Boston's founding conflicts still leave their mark. That and more on The Culture Show today at 2 on 89.7 GBH.
Support for our programs comes from you.
And Framingham State University, where the strength of a Commonwealth begins with access to opportunity. At FSU, students examine evidence and serve the public good. Framingham State University. Live to the truth. Learn more at framingham.edu.
And Coco Badakian & Sons, offering antique rugs since 1938. A range of hand-knotted, modern, and antique oriental rugs are available to view in their showroom at 808 Main Street, Winchester, or online at cocorug.com.
You're listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We are streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. We're also back at the Boston Public Library on Friday. Hope you can join us there. Okay, as for now, when you are at the grocery store and you are buying a carton of eggs, there are a lot of labels to consider. Phrases like pasture-raised, cage-free, humane, grade A, farm fresh. It's frankly too much, and what labels mean what and which ones are just hype is really hard to work out. So here to help us decode what is going on egg cartons, we are joined by Dan Souza. He is the Chief Content Officer of America's Test Kitchen right here in Boston and host of I Changed My Mind with Dan Souza on Netflix. Dan, welcome to the Curiosity Desk.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a joy to be here.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you. Okay, so I want to start by asking, is this meant to be confusing? All of these different phrases and words on just something as small as an egg carton?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a power involved that is trying to make it hard for you to shop for eggs, but it would seem...
Big egg.
Big egg. It would seem that way based on how confusing it is. I think it is probably in the supermarket the single hardest thing to shop for and really know what you're getting, which is unfortunate because it's a basic commodity that everyone really loves, and they are pretty expensive now. So you want to be armed with the right information.
So let's start talking about the information that we need to be armed with. I mean, my suspicion is that there's a division here between some of these words meaning something and maybe being sort of mandated by some sort of body that says if it has this phrase that means something and it means somebody has checked it, versus something that might be just marketing speak. Is that right? Are they sort of divided between the two?
Absolutely. There's like a divide right down the middle, and half of the terms are basically meaningless and half are really impactful. So that's pretty rough situation. But yeah, there's a few that you really don't need to pay attention to.
So what are the ones that you just sort of what are ones that you just let go in one ear and out the other, or in one eye and out the other?
Yeah. So one of them is farm fresh. Farm fresh sounds great. And if you're at a farm buying eggs, you're probably getting great eggs. But farm fresh is not regulated by any U.S. organization.
So anybody can just say it's farm fresh.
Yeah, you can just say farm fresh on there. So that one is one to completely ignore. Another that means something that is regulated but actually probably doesn't mean that much is the grade. So most eggs at the supermarket.
What is that?
Yeah, they're pretty much all going to be grade A. The grading system is based on freshness. So double A eggs would actually be the freshest, but you don't really see them at the supermarket.
Yeah.
And grade B are really the ones that go into the processing plants and things like that to make mayonnaise. So you're not going to really see those. So you can look for grade, but it's all going to be basically grade A. So those are a couple that I don't think you really need to pay attention to. Another one that sounds good is hormone-free.
Yeah.
It's actually illegal to give hormones to chickens in the U.S., so all eggs are hormone-free. So it's true.
It's literally like just saying it's just saying it's an egg.
Yes, yeah, basically. This is an egg. So again, sounds good, but there's no teeth to it.
Okay. So how about things that you definitely are looking out for? Are there ones that are certainly meaningful and the ones we should absolutely be looking for?
Absolutely. So I think the top one is organic. So organic carries the full weight of the organic designation here in the U.S. That term has been, I think it's been cut down a little bit over the years, some of the regulations where they're allowing more and more. But, this is still really, really valuable. And it's, non-GMO. You can't give antibiotics outside of when it's really needed. So organic is a really good one.
So that's a real thing. And somebody
that's
is looking out to say, like, you can't just say organic if it's not organic.
100%. USDA organic or Oregon Health, whoever is actually doing it has high standards. So organic's a great one. The next one is really interesting, and it's certified humane.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this one sounds good, and it actually is good. So this is a non-governmental third party that goes and checks out the facilities and actually makes sure that the chickens are treated in a humane way. What's interesting, in and of itself, it's a good thing. They dictate things like having perches and like flock density, but in a confusing way, it also adds more weight to some other terms. This is where it gets a little confusing. But so we have basically 3 terms that represent how the chickens live. So we have cage-free,
yes,
free-range,
yes,
and pasture-raised.
Right.
So I'm going to talk about them, and then we'll talk about if the certified humane is paired with it, what that actually means.
Excellent. You are breaking it down for us. You're listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. We're talking with Dan Souza from America's Test Kitchen. He is helping us right now in real time decode our egg cartons. All right, take it away.
Okay, so cage-free eggs, this is exactly what it sounds like. So there's one big building. It is not divided into small cages, so all of the chickens are roaming around in that space. There is some debate as to whether this is always better for the chickens. If there's really high flock density and they're packed together without the protection of a cage, it may not be as good. But it is cage-free, so that one in and of itself is usually considered quite good. The next is free range. So these are going up in order of how much sort of freedom and access the birds have. Free range means they have continuous access to the outdoors.
Okay.
But it does not mean that they actually spend time outdoors.
So there's an open door somewhere, and if they want to go out of the barn, they
Yes.
can amble out of the barn, but we don't necessarily know if they do or not.
That's right. And a lot of times the food and water is inside the barn, so the drive
no
to go
reason
outside
to
is
go
probably not that
outside.
strong. But here's where the certified humane label comes in and is very interesting. If you see free range and the certified humane combined, it means they must spend at least 6 hours a day outside.
Okay.
So that does actually mean something.
Do we have a sense, or do you have a sense on whether them being outside is an important component, whether that be to the taste of the egg or your sort of, personal kind of moral code where you're like, I'd like this chicken to live a good life, and I'm happy to buy an egg from a chicken who was able to live outside. Like, what does being outside versus being inside mean for a chicken?
Yeah, I think it's largely in the humane side of things in terms of having that space and access. Could the chickens find food outside, and that might be a more varied diet? Certainly, that can be a part of it. But I think for most people, wanting to buy these eggs that have a little bit more, that chickens have a little more freedom, is really about an ethical decision there.
Gotcha. Now you had a third one, pasture raised.
Yeah. So pasture raised is fascinating to me because on its own, it means zilch. It means absolutely nothing. But if you combine it with the certified humane label, again here, that's sort of like booster label.
Yeah.
It means that they spend the majority of their lives outside.
Okay.
So it goes from almost like 0 to 60 really, really quickly there.
Yeah.
So that one is pretty powerful if combined with the certified humane label.
Okay, so those I can't tell if I'm less confused or more confused now. It's somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Now here in Massachusetts, we have I think it was in 2016 we had a question on the ballot, and there's like a cage-free law here in Massachusetts, right? Which is to say that are all eggs in Massachusetts are going to be cage-free or have to be? I'm not 100% sure exactly the details of that, but
yeah, I don't know where that stands today. And then the thing is, if you're buying eggs at the grocery store, they can be coming from all over the place. So I think you're still best off looking for labels. Again, if you're buying super local and everything about it, that's sort of a different thing. But I'm with you on the confusion. So I think if we want to distill it down to what we generally say is the best stuff to go out and buy, I'd be looking for the organic label, the certified humane label, and pasture raised.
Gotcha.
So seeing those 3 on there, you're getting really high quality eggs that probably the chickens are living the best lives we could imagine, and so you're getting a good product in that way.
All right. How about brown eggs versus white eggs?
So this is really fascinating. I like to think of it like when you're painting a room in your house. So all eggs are white underneath. So the kind of the primer layer, they're all white. And if you see a colored egg, it just means that they basically the chicken puts on another coat on top of that before they lay it. So it's a genetic thing. And so some chickens will lay brown eggs, some these really light blue lilac eggs, and some pink eggs. They're really beautiful, but it's simply a genetic trait and it has no impact on flavor. The fascinating thing is if you really want to nerd out, and at America's Test Kitchen, we really love nerding out.
Go ahead, nerd out a bit.
So what you do is you can actually grab some fine sandpaper and you can sand off the colored part of any, and you will always find a white egg underneath there. So it's really, and this is a really fun fact that I think it's good for parties, is the color of the shell is actually correlated to the chicken's earlobes.
As in they're the same color?
They're the same color.
So the chicken's earlobe, it's really?
Yeah. So I'm guessing in this moment you're first realizing that chickens have earlobes.
Yeah, that's a little bit of it now.
So that's news.
And then where do you find the earlobe? I guess
right at the base of the ear.
Yeah.
So that's pretty standard. But yeah, so blue earlobe, blue eggs.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So when you see your egg, you know exactly what the earlobe color of the chicken that it came from was.
Yeah, which is nice. It's just a nice thing.
How about size? Jumbo, extra large, medium, small. Does it matter? Does it matter in taste? Like what is that?
Yeah. So it doesn't really matter in taste. Your recipes can vary, especially if you're doing baking recipes. At America's Test Kitchen, we always call for large eggs because that's pretty standard.
Yeah.
But we have conversions on our site and app to adjust if you're buying different sizes. But I pretty much always try to go for large if I can. One really interesting thing is, I don't know if you want to talk about yolks.
Go on.
Yolks are a deep well that people have a lot of opinions on. So when you crack open an egg and you see the yolk, and if it's like deep orangey red, like looks like a gorgeous sunset in the summer, people are like, oh, that's a good egg. And if it's really light and pale, they kind of go in the other direction. And it's like, it's not high quality. The interesting thing is it's really just dependent on the feed, on what these chickens are eating. So it could be that really rich, colorful egg has all these carotenoid pigments in it because the chicken was outside eating all these different, flower petals and all these different things like that. But you can also, as a breeder and a farmer, do it by simply adding paprika or marigold to the feed. So you can get that richer color. We were super curious at America's Test Kitchen whether it actually had an impact on flavor.
Yeah.
So we did a double-blind taste test with a full range of yolk colors. And when we're blind and we're tasting these in scrambled eggs and in cakes, you can absolutely not tell a difference.
Yeah.
We confirm that for certain. But when you're at home, you're not wearing a blindfold when you're eating. And it's very true that we eat with our eyes. Our visual input tells us a lot about the food. And so if you see that egg and it feels farm fresh to you, there's a good chance you might actually find that egg to taste better. So I wouldn't discount it, but just know that it's not necessarily an indication of nutritional value or specific feed or a flavor difference.
There you go. We've been speaking with Dan Souza from America's Test Kitchen, all about eggs. And by the way, check out his new show on Netflix. It is called I Changed My Mind with Dan Souza. You're going to want to check that out. Dan, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, up next, got a springtime renovation project you need an expert's take on? Well, get those calls and texts ready. It's the April edition of Ask the Remodeler. This is the Curiosity Desk on GBH 89.7. Stay with us.
The runners, the crowd, the excitement. Marathon Monday is coming, and GBH News is keeping you informed with everything you need to know about the 130th Boston Marathon. Who's going to be there? Interesting facts and history, runner superstitions, and, of course, live race updates. Find us at gbhnews.org, on the GBH News app, or right here on GBH 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Middlebury College in Middlebury, Vermont, dedicated to educating thoughtful, ethical, and globally informed leaders in the liberal arts, preparing them to address the world's most challenging problems. More at middlebury.edu.
And the Boston Speaker Series announcing its upcoming season at Symphony Hall for 7 evenings, including Pete Buttigieg, former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, historian Doris Kearns Goodwin, and former U.S. Ambassador to China Nicholas Burns. BostonSpeakers.org.
You're listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We are streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. We are live at the Boston Public Library tomorrow. Hope you can come down and join us. But as for now, it is time for the April edition of Ask the Remodeler. Yes, back by popular demand is the one and only Mark Philben. Mark is not just the project development manager at Charlie Allen Renovations in Cambridge, which he is. He's also the guy behind the Boston Globe's Ask the Remodeler series. As always, Mark is here to help answer all of your home renovation and remodeling questions, so get them coming in. 877-301-8970 is the number. That's 877-301-8970. Give us a call or a text. Mark Philben, welcome back to the Curiosity Desk.
Great to be back. Thank you.
Great to have you. Okay, let's start with the fact that it is clearly spring now. It is really starting to feel like spring, I think, for the first time now, and a little bit like summer, depending on where you are. But what are some things we ought to be thinking about just around the house when spring is around, things we ought to be checking? The winter is, I think, really behind us. The snow is really behind us. We had a lot of snow this year. Is there like a handful of things I ought to be doing around the house to go like, let me just kind of go through my checklist here and make sure everything's okay?
Water's always the biggest issue. You want to make sure that your gutters are clear. A lot can happen over the winter. Gutters and downspouts can get clogged.
Yeah.
We all count on, we've done some segments on sump pumps, those sort of things. You want to make sure that the discharge lines are still working. Really, that's really about it. Just make sure that there was no damage done over the winter. If you can check the roof to make sure there's no damage from trees coming down, branches coming down, that sort of thing. Take a look at your chimney, get a pair of binoculars out, possibly get a roofer to take a look at it.
Take a look at your chimney with binoculars. Yeah. That's a pro tip right there. Yeah. I like that. Yep. Nice. All right, so that's the kind of stuff you ought to be doing.
Exterior of the house.
Yeah.
Winters are pretty harsh in New England on your home.
They really are, aren't they?
Take care of the outside of the house. Make sure that's buttoned up.
And that really is that is like the classic, like you've got the tool, built in, which is your eyes. Just like use your eyes, essentially do an inspection, walk around and just make sure nothing's amiss.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I like it. Right. One of your recent articles in your Ask the Remodeler series, you got into lighting in a recent one, which I'm really interested in. So let's talk some lighting. Is the reign of recessed lighting over?
I would not say over, but I'd say its preeminence maybe is over.
Why were people why is recessed lighting so attractive? And I don't necessarily mean aesthetically attractive. I mean just sort of attractive as a solution for lighting in a house.
Just because it's relatively easy. It casts a lot of light throughout the room. It gives you really balanced light because of the way you set the lights up in the room. And they just sort of disappear. If that's what you're looking for, is a clean, modern, contemporary, sleek line look, it's a good solution.
They work.
People are starting to look for a little bit more in their lighting now. They're looking for surface-mounted lights that match the decor. Layered lighting is something that was in the article.
Yeah. So listen. I mean, I'm not a home expert, but layered lighting. I was like, what the heck is layered lighting? Like, well, what is layered lighting?
It's just a different. It's a different type of lighting for different uses in the room. Ambient light is your sort of general lighting to illuminate the entire room when you walk in. Task lighting would be something like reading lights. Lights that you have. In a kitchen, might be pendant lights over an island, lights over a sink or the range, specific task lights. And then there's accent lighting, which is really kind of an indulgence a little bit. Might be cove lighting around the perimeter of the room. Something like
Even
that.
the term sounds indulgent, cove lighting.
A
little bit of cove.
You have to build a cove and then put the lighting in there.
Yeah, first you got to be able to afford the cove. Then you get the lighting. Lighting is something that feels to me like has gotten, I don't know if the word is more complicated over the years. It's like one of these things where technologies, it feels like in some ways has confused it. It's like, because now, you got LED lighting, you've got these things that maybe have remote controls. They don't have to be on the rest of the lighting situation. You've got your, kind of Alexas or your smart homes where you can be turning it off and on with your voice. How do you sort of, if you're a homeowner, how do you sort of sort through all of that stuff?
Well, in a way, it's gotten more complicated, but easier in some ways too, because a lot of these things can simply be run by an app on your phone. And so it depends. A lot of people don't really want that level of lighting. You can have whole house, they call them hubs. that can run everything from your window shades to your lighting.
Yeah.
And that gets pretty complicated, but most people just want to have the ability to change the color temperature in the lights and the brightness of the lights. And that's something that was never available until you had LED lighting.
Yeah.
Most people never thought about the color temperature.
Yeah, for sure. Now everybody's like, what Kelvin is you know? What Kelvin is your lighting at? You're listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. This is Ask the Remodeler with Mark Philben. Phone lines are open, 877-301-8970. Ask your questions of Mark. Ask the Remodeler your home remodeling questions at 877-301-8970. We are going to go to the phone now. We've got Gene in Stoughton. Gene, welcome to the Curiosity Desk. This is your chance to ask the Remodeler.
Thank you. I have been told recently that I need 30 casement windows.
30 casement windows.
Exactly.
Yep.
And who told you this?
A remodeler, handy person, window installer.
I'm curious, why would he say you? That sounds like every window in your house, of course.
It is every window in my house.
And why? Curious why that suggestion was made to replace every window in your house. Are they failing?
Well, yes, some are failing, some are damaged, and all of them are rotten around the casement.
Sounds like they're wood windows, wood on the exterior.
Yes, wood on the exterior, and the house needs to be painted dreadfully bad.
Okay.
All right. So you're in a situation, it sounds like, Gene. Do you have a question about what the best way to proceed is, or whether or not you ought to do it? What's your sort of question?
Either of those, both. Any more contributions that you can make? The gentleman told me that it could cost strike that, $1,000 per window just to purchase the window, and $1,000 to install each window.
All right, so you're staring at a bunch of numbers here. Mark, thoughts on this, just in general?
Those prices don't sound too outrageous, to be honest with you.
So that's a pretty good deal for this kind of work.
The assumption being that it's a good quality window. That price for a window would be a pretty high quality window, clad on the outside, wood on the inside. That should be a pretty high quality window. The cost to replace it, that doesn't sound too out of line with what we would charge.
Yeah.
So it sounds right. I guess the biggest question I would have is what type of windows are they speccing in for that kind of price?
In general, I wonder, Mark, if you talk about, the idea that if you find yourself in a situation like this, you're a homeowner and, you're like, this one window, something's up here. You have somebody come and look at it and they're like, actually, every single window in your house needs to be replaced. And you're like, okay, I don't have the money for that right now. How do you? What's a way to attack something like that when you say, "I'd love to be able to do this all right now. I can't. I want to take a good step in the right direction." How do you do that?
You just take care of the windows that you have to take care of. Usually, the windows that are in the worst shape might be on the north side of the house. And you take care of the windows that you have to. You can definitely, we've done it before for people where we did the windows in stages. You don't have to replace all the windows all at once. It's a little different if you're trying to paint the whole house. But I'd suggest if that's just too much money, then you replace the windows you have to. A lot of casement windows, older casement windows, don't even open well anymore.
Yeah.
They have those cranks on them, and replace the ones that aren't working. But I don't think you have to typically you don't have to replace every window in the house all at once.
All right. Well, Gene, best of luck. Hope you don't really have to replace them all. This is the Curiosity Desk on GBH. This is Ask the Remodeler with Mark Philben. 877-301-8970 is how you get your questions. Give us a call. 877-301-8970. We've got a text here. Somebody's asking, Mark, what's the best way to address peeling calcite paint? What is calcite paint?
That's the old paint that they used back in the 50s.
Is that lead paint?
No. It's just it probably is because it goes back to the 50s and the 60s. It might be. Doesn't necessarily have to be.
But if it is lead paint, you might address it one way versus if it's not lead paint. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, what we typically do, you'll almost never get anything to stick to that. And what we 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, we do what's called a ceiling layover. We actually put 1/2-inch wallboard right over the ceiling.
Oh, just
make it disappear. You
Wow.
basically entomb it underneath a half-inch of wallboard and just do the ceiling over. You'll almost never be able to prep that and prime it and have paint stick to it.
All right, so that's good advice for our anonymous texter. Sounds like you're putting something over that paint.
Ceiling layover.
Ceiling layover. We're going to go back to the phones here. We've got Nan in Somerville. Nan, welcome to the Curiosity Desk. Go ahead and ask the remodeler.
Thanks so much for taking my call. This involves a newly built deck. It was completed in September 2025.
Well, congratulations on the new deck.
Well, it started out to be a great story, and we noticed some warping, some gapping, some squeaking in the deck, and we went back to pictures that we took as the deck was being built. We also realized that rather than one joist system, because the deck was originally, apparently the contractor thought that the decking was supposed to go perpendicular to the house like piano keys. And when we first noticed that going down, we said, what's that? We wanted the deck to go parallel to the house. And the contractor said, well, for several $1,000s more, we can just leave this set of joists and we're going to add another set. So our deck underneath looks like these squares. It is a big deck, 40 by 15. So it looks like this whole grid system. And we had another contractor come when we saw this. We said, hey, could you help us? We think we need to relay this deck. And the contractor said, I can't, no. He said, it's not your decking. It's not your fasteners. It's your whole joist system. And
at least he didn't try to put a third layer on top.
No. So I'd love to just get a response to the fact that we have all these little boxes, whether they're called sister joints or a blocking system, and we have all this added weight. Number one, we have a situation, we're on a coastal setting where there's a lot of moisture. Where's the water going with all this wood? Just would love some comments on that. Nothing has been decided except for the building inspector just came to look at it because they failed to get a final inspection, and they failed to do an amendment plan for the second set of joists. But the only thing I can tell you is the inspector said, I have never seen anything like this. I need to do research, and I'll get back to you.
Well,
so,
at least you...
It's out of state. I just want to say it's out of state, so no one listening to this is involved.
Okay. All right, so you're looking for some guidance on where to go from here.
Yeah, and what the impact of so much wood and a second set of joists or blocking might have on
All right, Mark, what do you got? Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, that's an unusual one. That's not the solution I would have implemented.
Yeah.
It sounds to me the reason you said something about loose deck boards, they put blocking in. That's what that would be called. Those aren't sistered up joists. Those are blocking in between the joists so they could change the direction of the deck boards. And so your deck boards are not really attached to the joists. They're attached to these little pieces of block that have been put in between the joists, and that's not a very good situation. Those blocks are not really, they could come loose over time, which means your deck boards are going to be loose.
Yeah.
I really, sitting here right now, I don't think I really have a solution for that.
Yeah.
Other than to maybe, it sounds crazy, but either double up the blocking that's in there and make sure that those are really, really tightly attached to the joist so those don't move, and you might be able to settle down the loose deck boards. But it sounds like your deck boards are attached to blocking, not the joists, and that's a problem.
All right, well, Nan, good luck. We're sorry we couldn't help you more, but hopefully you will find a solution. We got a text here asking, Mark, is there a span of a few weeks that's typically good to paint outdoor spaces if you're trying to avoid spring rain? I mean, I think that's a good question. Trying to paint outside, maybe a long-term thing, you're going to need a couple of days, but it's obviously a rainy time of year. Do you have any advice?
Late spring.
Late spring,
early summer, yeah. Or if you can push it off until the fall. The best times really to paint outside are, sort of late spring and fall.
Yeah.
Because summertime, it can be so hot if it's sunny. That can actually affect the way a paint bonds. And so it can be too hot and too sunny to actually paint outside.
And humidity can also, impact?
Yep, 100%. So really, sort of late spring into early summer, and then fall. Fall is a great time to. And the paints nowadays, You can typically paint well into the fall. You can paint down to 40 degrees with most high-quality latex paints. So you can paint well into the fall, and it tends to be a little less rainy then.
All right. Let's stay on painting for a second. Another text here. I have a functional kitchen with outdated uppers, lowers. I want to give them a facelift. Is it better to paint the already existing cabinets or rip them out and replace them with a new set?
It'd be cheaper to paint them, 100%.
Yeah, it depends on what the goal is, right? If it's functional, they work, and so it'll be cheaper to paint them.
100%.
Yeah.
And if the kitchen lays out fine for you, you're okay with how the kitchen is, designed and functions for you, then you could go a little steeper to painting them and go with a cabinet reface where they actually replace the doors and the drawer fronts without replacing the drawers themselves. So you could do a cabinet refacing is a way to get a new look in the kitchen for a fraction of what it would cost to rip everything out.
Great tip. That's why we bring you in here. That's a good tip there. Hopefully that's good for you. We're going to go back to the phones. John in Salem, welcome to the Curiosity Desk. This is your opportunity to ask the remodeler. Go for it.
Oh, great. Thank you for taking my call. So my question is about electrical system upgrades. We're having our house upgraded from a 100 amp service to a 200 amp service and getting the bigger box. And the electrician said that they're going to be using aluminum wires to connect the house to the telephone pole wires. But we also heard that copper was like a better conductor. And we were wondering, why would somebody choose to use aluminum over copper? Does it even really matter if it's just to the main house, like box? And what would be the pros and cons? Or, I guess, does it matter in New England?
John, did they give you an option, or did they just tell you they're using aluminum?
They just told us that they're using aluminum.
Okay.
That typically from the house to the street, that's done by the utility company. Copper is a much better conductor for sure. I can't answer whether there's a reason why the utility company would want to run aluminum to the house, but that's typically the utility company goes from the pole to the what's called a masthead, and then which is up the side of the house near the roof line. And then our electrician would take it from there down.
So, John, who told you they're going to use aluminum? Was it the electrician, or is it the folks at the utility company?
Yeah, sorry. So it's the electrician who, I guess, so it's called the masthead that goes from the meter on the house up to the top of the roof.
Okay.
That they said was going to be aluminum wire. And then the electrician also said that usually the telephone pole wires, the ones that come off the telephone poles that connect to that masthead, that they were aluminum also, and that he's never heard of using copper for the connection on the house that goes to our actual box and meter.
I wouldn't want to second guess the electrician. He wouldn't do it. He must have pulled a permit. So I actually don't know why they would do that.
So a little unclear, but
yeah, a little unclear. Yeah.
Generally speaking, I think you point out an important thing there, which is if the electrician's doing work, they have to pull a permit. That something like that, the kind of wire they're going to be used is going to be included in that. So you just sort of at the very least, you got to be they kind of know what they're doing.
And I think that if he's going to bring aluminum down, he's going to bring aluminum down to the meter box, and then everything from there in is going to be copper.
All right. Well, hopefully that helps. That is just about all the time that we have here with Mark Philben. Thanks to everybody for your questions. We don't have time to go back to the phones real quick. We're going to try to take one more. Jamie and Bill Ricca. What do you got, Jamie? Quickly.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Got some stairs that were carpeted, removed the carpeting, and there's just bare construction lumber underneath here, like southern yellow pine. I want to upgrade it aesthetically, but also I'm concerned about safety because the rise height is not consistent at the top and the bottom. And there's also a threshold, aluminum threshold at the top that's sticking out as well. Is there anything I can do to even out the tread height and put replacement treads on?
Thanks for the call, Jamie.
You
Quick,
can
Mark.
replace the treads for sure, but you're really not going to be able to change the rise and the run in any meaningful way because that's part of the framing, the way the stairs are framed. So you can absolutely take those southern yellow pine treads off, maybe put oak on, but that's really going to not change the the rise and the run.
Well, best of luck, Jamie. Hope it goes well with the stairs. As I said, unfortunately, we are out of time. Thanks to everybody who called. Thanks to Mark Philben for joining us. Mark is the project development manager with Charlie Allen Renovations. Based in Cambridge, he also writes the Boston Globe's Ask the Remodeler column. Mark, thank you for being here.
All right. Thank you, Edgar.
Jared Bowen is in studio with me, pawing an egg and looking at me like, what the heck is an egg doing sitting in
Who
here?
laid an egg in the studio, gentlemen?
That was Dan Souza from America's Test Kitchen, who was telling us all about eggs earlier in the show. So, speaking of shows, Jared, what do you have on the Culture Show today?
We're going to start off with Kiefer Glenshaw. He's making a return visit. You may remember from our previous conversations with him, he's turned playing the cello into an endurance sport, playing for 24 hours straight at one point.
Take that, Boston Marathon runners.
Exactly. Taking his cues from Yoko Ono and doing a secret performance in the woods. Now he's back to talk about Intention Desire, a new 24-hour performance that he'll do at Berkeley coming up next week. MassArt President Mary Grant is here. Perfect time to talk to her about liberal arts education, especially with the sudden closure. Well, not so sudden closure, but closure of Hampshire College. And then Kiernan Schmidt is here to talk about Secret Boston. It's his book where he takes us to hidden oddities, interesting things in and around Boston.
Love that.
All in advance of Patriots Day with a very heavy George Washington bent.
Excellent. Well, that is Jared Bowen and the Culture Show coming your way in about a minute and a half, so don't go anywhere. As for us, that's it for now. The Curiosity Desk is produced by Aidan Connolly, Rachel Armani, Olivia Corcio, Hannah Lawson, Nicole Garcia. Patty Daniels cleans all the leaves in our show's gutters. Our engineer today is John the Claw Parker. Special thanks to Andrew Massawa and Bill Francis. We will be right back here in 23 short hours on GBH 89.7 and streaming on YouTube. And we're going to be at the library tomorrow, so we hope you will join us there. Also, check out the podcast edition of the show. Until next time, I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Stay curious out there.
What's trending? What's interesting? What's going on around town? We're talking all things arts and culture on The Culture Show, next on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And Speakeasy Stage, presenting Swept Away. 4 New Bedford whalers must confront who they are and what they've done as they fight to survive a shipwreck, with music by the Avett Brothers. Opens April 24th. SpeakeasyStage.com. On the blissful Caribbean island of Sainte Marie, sun-soaked detectives must solve murders by the land and sea. Catch Death in Paradise tonight at 9 on GBH 44.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Jared Bowen. Coming up on The Culture Show, artist Kiefer Glenshaw has made cello performance an endurance sport, playing for 24 hours straight, and once following a Yoko Ono prompt that took him and his cello into the woods of Lexington for a secret performance. Now he joins us ahead of Intention Desire, a 24-hour performance inviting strangers to join him, improvise, and discover what happens when art becomes exchange. Then, can we retire the stereotype of the starving artist? MassArt President Mary Grant joins us as the school launches a new co-op program, testing whether an art school can also serve as an employment pipeline, linking studio training and work experience to a more sustainable creative life. And ahead of Patriots Day, Kiernan Schmidt, author of Secret Boston, takes us beyond the Freedom Trail to the bullet holes, battered gravestones, and forgotten corners of Greater Boston where the revolution has left its mark. That's all right now on The Culture Show.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
I'm Jared Bowen, live on 89.7 and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. You're listening to The Culture Show, and we're listening to Amen, a new single by The Romance. The Romance is a rock band led by Kiefer Glenshaw, a singer, performance artist, and electric cellist. He has turned playing the cello into an endurance sport. In his improvisational performance titled Purification Process, he played for the better part of 24 hours straight. He followed that with another unconventional performance. Following prompts from artist Yoko Ono, he entered the woods of Lexington for an early morning secret performance. Now he joins us ahead of his latest project titled Intention Desire. Starting at sunset on April 25th, he'll again perform for 24 hours, but this time he's inviting collaborators to join him. So mark your calendars. It'll take place at the Berkeley Loft, a space at Berkeley College of Music. Kiefer Glenshaw, welcome back to The Culture Show. It's great to have you here.
Good to be here, Jared. Thanks for having me.
Well, tell me about this upcoming performance.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm really excited about it. I've been thinking about it for a couple years now. I did the purification process, as you talked about, and I wanted to involve Berkeley students mainly, but really just, my whole community here in Boston in this very unique performance. It has such a transformative aspect of your playing and for my life, and I wanted to involve people in it.
Well, what do you imagine it will be like to go from what you know as a solo experience to having, will it be a random assortment of collaborators?
Yeah, so I just checked this morning. Right now, 42 of 72 slots are filled, so 30 are left right now. It's going to be, I know some of the people that have signed up. I don't know others. I don't know what they're going to play. And my hope is to just be a mirror and reflect their intention and desire, their art, their music. So it really will be kind of taking on whatever people bring to me and reflecting that.
That's pretty extraordinary. Yeah. To be prepared just on the physical level for this, and we'll talk about that, but you've been through it once, so you maybe know what to do this time, but then to also be prepared for these impromptu moments, that is a lot of brain energy.
Yeah, it's gonna be intense, but I'm really excited to see what people have to say for themselves, really.
And so how do people sign up? And again, you don't necessarily know what they're bringing, but what do you invite them to bring in terms of their collaboration?
Well, I'll have instruments ready, drums, keys, guitar amps, bass amps, vocal mics, whatever people want to bring in. But I really don't want this to be with any expectation of what someone is supposed to play. I feel like a lot of people can get, a little nervous when the words performance art or 24-hour performance, endurance, even like playing for 20 minutes straight can come into play. But I really just want people to bring in whatever they want, what they have, It's kind of seeing what people have to say,
So the big question is why?
Well, on the Berkeley aspect, I've been going to Berkeley for 4 years, and it's always felt like, there are 6,000 musicians that go to Berkeley, and there are collaborations, but not in the same way as people kind of bringing their own art. And I think sometimes within the school or within, kind of growing up and wanting to be a musician and an artist, there can be a difference between bringing in music and playing an instrument, playing music and playing with other people and really expressing yourself through that. So I wanted to make a space where people can really just show their true selves in a context of such an endurance piece like this.
Well, there's also something that comes out of the confines of something like this, where it is a 24-hour period. It goes sunset to sunset, again, starting April 25th to the 26th. So this could be any hour of the night. I know from the way I work, I certainly have better hours creatively than others.
Yeah.
So what do you think will happen in those confines of the 24 hours?
Well, I can relate it to my other piece. The first 6 hours went great, and then I had an immense depression kind of in the middle of the night that I had to burn through. What was also tricky with this, talking about like preparing, we can talk about this more, is I'm going to have a team that's going to help me set up and break down. But in the previous piece, it was just myself and my friend Veronica Labanca. And so we set up from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then I started. So sleep deprivation really got the best of me, in the early hours of the morning. And then it was kind of burning through to get to this other side of sleep deprivation and exhaustion and playing. And that I kind of reached the middle period. So I'm curious to see how those, ebbs and flows that I experienced solo will be impacted by playing with so many other people.
So how will you train for this one?
I've said this before, but you don't really train. It's all about the thing that's making me the most nervous is getting everything set up, getting the live stream working, having all the chairs together, having the PA working and stuff like that. Getting a whole team. I need ushers to bring people into the space. My friend's gonna come from Colorado to take headshots of everyone. But in terms of how I prepare to play a 24-hour piece, you can't really.
Even for food and drink and sleep in the week leading up.
I'm going to have some bars, some water. It's really like I take a lot of influence from Marina Abramovic. She did a piece called The Artist is Present, kind of that I'm very inspired by, where it was sitting across from another person and kind of taking them in, being a mirror to themselves. And her biggest thing is to not prepare for this, to just trust in that process.
Well, her big process, if people want to listen to more of her, they can go back to the Culture Show podcast. We had her on the show not too long ago.
No way, what?
We did. She's doing a masterclass. She's recorded an entire masterclass series that people can participate in. And it's fascinating because she essentially boils it down to it being a mental game. It's all about awareness and concentration.
Exactly, yeah. It's really, and I feel so grateful to be able to express that through an instrument and kind of have that by my side and this outlet for concentration and mindfulness. It's such a tool in my toolbox here. Yeah.
Well, speaking of instruments, you have one right next to you. You have your cello right next to you. You've come bearing performance for us today. Tell us what you're going to play.
I was just planning on improvising a little bit. I use some loop pedals and stuff like that, and I would love to just kind of set the tone or set a space. I've been thinking a lot about how I'm going to, cleanse my own palette or internally and externally with so many people playing, and this is a tune that I like to come back to a lot.
Well, as you go to your instrument right now, I'll remind people that we're listening to Kiefer Glenshaw, a musician, performance artist, and cellist. He's founder of the rock band The Romance, which we'll talk about on the other side of this performance. He's performing Intention Desire, a collaborative 24-hour piece that will begin and end at sunset on April 25th through the 26th at the Berkeley Loft on the campus of Berkeley College of Music. Again, Kiefer Glenshaw. Again, Kiefer Glenshaw, that was incredible. Just the way that swelled here in the studio. That's Kiefer performing in the studio ahead of his upcoming performance of Intention Designer, again happening April 25th at Berklee College of Music. You just mentioned Marina Abramović, of course, one of the most famous performance artists, I was going to say of our time, but really who has ever lived. I'm wondering if you have thought, as she has considered throughout her career, what ultimately the aim is of what you're doing for audiences. You've talked a lot about, in the first part of this conversation, about being present in the moment, as she always is too. But what about the more expansive, the larger view of what you're doing?
In terms of, giving to the audience and these kinds of
Exactly.
things? Well, this one I'm hoping to give people a real space to express themselves, and even in a music school, that's not always going to happen, in such a way. I feel like I've tried to find my site a lot and work, and that's been inspired through people like Marina Abramović, like Tae-Ching Shea, like Phil Elverum and Nick Cave, and these artists that I really look up to, and I'm hoping. What I love about them is how they can really truly be themselves and express themselves through performance art, through music, through visual art and these kinds of things. So if I can give people that space, that really inspires me.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit, because you're
Sure,
also
yeah.
more space. You're going out on tour.
Indeed.
As well, with The Romance, to get people in the frame of what you're going to be doing. This is a track, The Fight, from Kiefer Glenshaw and his rock band, The Performance.
Middle of the night, terrified, I saw your eyes. Sigmund tried to give it up, but he couldn't stop the fight. God saw a bigger picture, gave us nothing to contain his light.
So this is another side of you. Tell us about The Romance and what you're going to be doing on stage with your group.
Well, this is super interesting. I've been playing with The Romance as The Romance for the past about year and a half now. It really connects to the performance art for me, because I kind of found this outlet of music performance art through punk music and post-punk music, post-rock. And I've really enjoyed kind of putting this effort onto stages and in New York and in Boston, and now I'll be able to take it on tour. With The Fight and with Amen, I've tried to connect both the performance art and the rock band into one through these music videos filmed by my friends Will Thesson and Diego Rodriguez, where they filmed one for Amen, which is available now, where you can see me running over the Williamsburg Bridge in one take.
I watched it this morning.
You watched it this morning? Yeah, so you can see that. The Fight coming out at the end, I fight my friend. My friend beats me up in Maria Hernandez Park. There's plenty of others that are coming out soon in EP, and then I'm going to be on tour very soon.
So there's more endurance here, because we see you running across that bridge. Tell us about the circumstances of that day and maybe how the effect that had on your body.
Yeah, so I mean, one little phrase I like for The Romance is effort incarnate. And I was thinking about how to show that in a music video. I really love single shot, like long form music videos where you really can't look away. So I talked to my friends, and we agreed that we can come out in the summer in the morning. It was about 90 degrees. They got on I rented them an electric city bike, and my friend sat in the front of it filming me facing backwards, and then I sprinted over the bridge at full force in boots and a woolen suit and all this different stuff. And I had a reversal of fortune in the middle of it, which is captured, but the whole thing I think really
You were
puts...
a little nauseous, shall we
yes,
say.
Yes, yes. But I think the whole thing captures kind of this effort that I'm trying to put into the music.
Well, all of this, I'm realizing, comes back to your body at the end of the day and
Yeah.
what you can do, whether it's running across this bridge, whether it's playing for 24 hours. It's just, it's you. And almost, it's interesting to watch you with the cello, too, a very large instrument, which is like an appendage almost.
Yeah. I mean, the cello is the closest to the human voice. It kind of is this human body in itself. And I love to be in my body at all times. This is a big part of just my daily life, is just the pure enjoyment of my human self. So putting it in these contexts, like playing for 24 hours, sprinting over a bridge, these kinds of things, I really enjoy, and that I get to express that through art is just wonderful.
Well, just one more reminder for how people can sign up, because you said you still have some open slots.
Yes.
How do they find you? How do they surprise you that day?
My friend said he's going to come in with the rat pedal, which is a crazy distortion. You can go to my website, which is Kiefer Glenshaw, KeeferGlenshaw.com. My Instagram is my first and last name. Both have a sign-up link. You can go right there. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I realize I have one last question for you.
Yeah.
In a 24-hour cycle, what is for you? What are your most creative hours? What's that opportune time for you?
Well, actually, the afternoon was really interesting last time because like I said, I had to burn through kind of literally I was falling asleep and then waking up and playing, and that kind of thing, like standing up, falling asleep, standing up, and that kind of stuff, and then passing through the immense depression, as I said, that happened in the night. So honestly, the time that's open right now is about 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. And that's the creative hours, really, for me. That will be, you'll see me in a different space.
Well, it's always great to speak with you. I look forward to more conversations. I look forward to hearing how it all goes.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Kiefer Glenshaw is musician, performance artist, and cellist, and founder of the rock band The Romance. He'll perform Intention Desire, a collaborative 24-hour piece that will begin and end at sunset, April 25th through the 26th, at the Berkeley Loft on the campus of Berkeley College of Music. To learn more, and again, if you want to participate, go to his website, KieferGlenshaw.com, or to his Instagram page. Coming up, what does the closure of Hampshire College mean for the state of a liberal arts education? MassArt President Mary Grant joins us. She's next on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
Every morning, you trust your alarm to wake you up. A cup of coffee to get things going. And a GPS to get you there on time.
Your route may be affected by...
For the news you need, trust GBH News.
Welcome to GBH's Morning Edition. Looking at local headlines this morning.
Get ready with us. GBH's Morning Edition with Mark Hurds. Weekdays from 6 to 10 on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And Biogen. For nearly 50 years, Biogen has been committed to advancing biotechnology innovations to develop new medicines for people with hard-to-treat diseases. Biogen, making breakthroughs happen. Biogen.com.
And Coco Badakian & Sons, offering antique rugs since 1938. A range of hand-knotted, modern, and antique oriental rugs are available to view in their showroom at 808 Main Street, Winchester, or online at cocorug.com. And Schneider Electric, bringing sustainability advisory services to the Boston Athletic Association and committed to helping advance energy tech worldwide. Proud sponsor of The Long Run, Wednesdays at 12:30 on GBH 89.7.
On April 28th, GBH invites you for a special look into the untold origin story of Frankenstein. Hear from award-winning novelist Emily Franklin as she unpacks her evocative new novel, Love and Other Monsters. Tickets at gbh.org/events.
I'm Jared Bowen. This is The Culture Show, live on 89.7 and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. It's time for our recurring feature, AI Actual Intelligence, where we tap into the most interesting thinkers in our region. Their insights and observations are totally original and algorithm-free. Today I'm joined by Mary Grant, president of Mass Art, who joins us every month, and whom Kiefer Glenshaw just referenced on his way out of the studio because his last 24-hour performance was at Mass Art, and he was thanking you for your role in that.
Well, you know, I like to think of Mass Art as this little creative network that just launches people, supports people, and does good work in the world. And it was beautiful to listen to what he was playing and inspiring to hear what he's going to be doing next.
He's incredible. And I love that we have this ecosystem here where everybody is connected and everyone is feeding off of one another. This is how it's supposed to be.
Makes a difference.
It does. Well, let's start with some not so great news, not a complete surprise, but it's disturbing nonetheless, and that's the closure of Hampshire College out in Amherst, Massachusetts, a small liberal arts college that is 56 years old, has produced very significant alumni like Ken Burns. I was just with him for the Boston Speaker Series about a month ago, and he was talking about not even in the context of this college maybe closing, but about how instrumental it was in his own growth, but there's no path forward for them now.
No, and you know, getting to a point like this is a very sad day for a college and its community. And Hampshire worked so hard to try to not have this day happen. You know, they've been struggling the last few years, but bringing in a lot of support, alums like Ken Burns, and the business model just isn't going to do it for them. They're not able to recover in time. They don't have, like a lot of small schools, the deep pockets of multiple alumni. They don't have students who are coming from all over the world paying high tuition prices. So it's one of those important experimental colleges that change lives, and students find their way there, and it's the perfect place for them, and they enrich a community. If you look at the ecosystem around Hampshire College and the 5-college area up there, so many of the businesses up there were started by alumni of Hampshire College who find their way there and then stay. So it's a sad day for an institution because it's not only the students who they are caring about, but you know, it's the staff and the faculty of that institution that now have to think about what's next, because this is where I've devoted my life. I've built my family. What's next?
Is this a reflection? I always do either or, and it ends up being all of the above. But is it a reflection on our support of liberal arts at the moment? Is it a reflection of just higher ed writ large? What fundamentally became an issue for them, do you think?
I think, you know, there was just a report that came out from the Hetchinger report that looks at across the country right now, Jared, there are approximately, I think it's 422 small private liberal arts colleges that are at risk. And so you have these small institutions where there's always a thin margin. You don't have big athletic programs. You don't have the other revenue drivers. You're small by design because you want that relationship with your students. So the numbers are working against you from the beginning. And if you don't have a large endowment, if you don't have employers who are investing in you, if you don't have those things that other schools have, it's harder all the time. And there's a maximum you can go to in terms of what you can charge your students. There's a price tolerance level. And so at a certain point, you can't raise tuition and fees anymore because you are going to completely price yourself out of the market. You don't have the alumni base to do the fundraising. You don't have an endowment. And so you begin to dress like first what Hampshire did. They tried to find ways to cut. They tried to find ways to partner, to collaborate. And there's only so much you can do without cutting out the very essential of who and what you are. And so to get to that point and just reading what the trustees and the president said, it was about, you know, at a certain point you cut and you no longer are who you are, and you're breaking your promise to the students about the kind of experience that they're going to have. So I think that that's a lot of integrity to get to that point. Very hard, very painful, but you have to be honest honest with your students at a certain point that we're just not going to be able to do this.
Well, what does this mean then existentially for the liberal arts? If not all of them will fold, of course, but if many of them fold, what does this mean?
Well, I think it's a bigger problem for all of us because the liberal arts plays such an essential role in turning out individuals who are creative thinkers or have cultural humility, who understand how to, immerse themselves in a different environment. Those trainings of philosophy, of humanities are essential to helping us to be fully functioning human beings in the world. And so small places are going to struggle because the models don't work. Larger schools that are grounded around the liberal arts is important. And I think what we have to do is make sure we don't go down sort of a path where we're talking about the death of the liberal arts, because that's also not true. And I think this is a moment where we have to blow some wind in the sails and make sure we're supporting schools that have liberal arts at its center, that center art and design education, because those are the kinds of educations that are going to be essential as we're opening up more opportunities through AI and the challenges and opportunities that will present. So we've got to push back on this. We need to be turning out thinking people. We need people who can imagine a different world. But the small schools, which mean so much to their communities, are really struggling. And that is so, because they become more than the school. They're sometimes the largest employer, depending upon where they are. A small college in Vermont is on the cusp of closing, and they really are the center of this town in Craftsbury, Vermont. So it's sad, it's hard, and it takes a long time to get to that point.
Well, I will echo what you said about not giving up on the liberal arts. Not too long ago, we had our higher ed reporter, Kirk Carapezza, on the show talking about colleges leaning into the humanities right now. So it's worthwhile to check out his reporting on this too. Can't let it go away.
And also on that matter, there's a number of smaller schools. We're one of them, and we will actually be sending some staff up next week to Hampshire College as part of a transfer and kind of communications session with their students to present to them what options may be available to them at Mass College of Art and Design. We are clearing transfer pathways for them because we want to make sure they have some strong programs in the arts, and we want to make sure filmmaking. We want to make sure that those students know that right in Massachusetts there's a good option for them that can meet their needs, and not only will be there strong academically, but as a community. So that's happening next week, and there'll be a number of schools. Smith College will be there, a few other places, to be able to work with these students to help them think about what's next.
That's a really quick response, because I cannot imagine being some of those students who plan to round out their academic careers and projects that they were in the middle of, and just to be told it's over, only a small percentage of the students will get to finish out their college career there. Well, let's stay with the bad news, because then we can move to the good news.
All right.
And the bad news is the federal funding for the arts we're really getting a more pronounced sense of its impact, especially as it relates to the NEA and the NEH and their very restricted funding mechanisms at this point.
Yes. I mean, with the budget out of the White House absolutely continues to go after anything that is resembling equity, inclusion, creativity, thinking. It sets a number for both NEA and NEH. I think it's $28 million for NEH, 38 for NEA, something like that, or I've got them mixed up. But it's to put them on a glide path to closure. It basically says that, like, this is to help you wind down. Now, they tried that last year, and Congress stepped in and restored the funding, and because arts happens on a local level. So these agencies that fund grants around the community have an impact on think about if you lost your small college, then you lose your small theater. So these are money that are impacting local communities. So now the next push will be to see if Congress steps in and reverses and do what they did last year. And when you think about it, the irony or the amazing thing is in Massachusetts, the governor's budget and the House budget, I think, put in $27.5 million for the Mass Cultural Council. That's for one state. And it's $28 million that the federal government put in for NEA for the whole country.
Wow.
So talk about priorities. So we're going to have to mount up for battle, make sure this doesn't happen. But it's an indication of we have an administration that is determined to control the narrative on these agencies and look at how to wind down some of these essential agencies.
Is there an arts lobby? I'm realizing I don't even know.
Well, there is Arts for America. There's a number of groups, and they last year went to work across the country, working to help push back, to get in to talk to their congressional reps to make the case for how this changes lives on the local level, why this matters. Because, if you have a library in your community and suddenly it's being cut, that's going to make a difference, and it's going to frustrate the people who show up to vote for you. So this is where local voices matter and pushing back matters, and we all have to be looking at how we do this.
27 million or thereabouts is a ludicrous number. What once was it?
It was, oh my gosh, it was never really big, but I forget whether it was like 100 million, but it's still a small percent of the budget. But this is like, wham, we're just taking you down by the knees. When at the same time in the federal budget, they put in $152 million for Alcatraz to keep working to restore
the new prison.
For the new prison.
Yeah.
So
the new old prison.
And then same thing with cutting funding for higher education, some of the programs there that make a difference. So it's a signal of intent. There really are no new surprises in there. It's just about going deeper on this agenda around tackling things that I think are the things that change people's lives in the most positive way while increasing spending for military.
I'm speaking with Mary Grant, the president of MassArt, who joins us every month. Well, I'm glad that I started with the bad news so we can talk about, as he pats himself on the back, so that we can talk about the good news and ways you and others are taking care of the arts community right now, starting with these co-op programs, which have always been identified with just a select number of schools, but there is a growing embrace of how this could be, how this could work on a more widespread effort to get people into jobs.
Yeah, we're really excited about this. So the Department of Higher Ed, about a year ago, they put out some pilot grants. It did a call. So, as a public institution, we raised our hand and we said, hey, we'll put in a grant to explore what this could mean for Mass College of Art and Design. 2 of the other state universities did as well, Bridgewater State University and Framingham State University, and UMass Lowell has been a leader in this. So the public's stepping forward. And we talked with our faculty, and we are looking at 2 programs for which this could be a good fit: glass and communication design. Very different programs with very different ways of teaching and engaging, but still at the heart of it, it's an education about, again, problem solving, communication, teamwork, all of that. So 2 different proposals. So the grant is to allow faculty to have time to think through what would this look like, because it would mean a change in teaching structures and when courses happen, because as typical with a lot of art and design programs, the curriculum has a very focused progression. And so this would be a change to be able to enable students to have a big block of time to experiment in the field.
Yeah, because, for instance, Northeastern, isn't it usually a 6-month co-op,
right,
something like that? So you have time to really settle in and get a sense of the workplace.
That's right. And that's what we would be looking at as well. So that would be a big shift. And what we want to make sure we're doing and thinking through, which is why it's great to try this on a small scale, is to be able to understand the impact on our students, because we don't want them to spend a dime more in their education. We want to make sure we're getting them out in a timely manner. And we want them to be able to have the benefit of a rich and fully rounded art and design education. And we think we can do all of those things. So being able to do this, and then part of it will be a special course for the students who will do this to help get them ready. What does it mean to show up every day on time? What does it mean? All those things that you haven't had to quite do 100% yet. And we're excited to see the outcome of it. And we know that when students, we also do a lot of internships program, and we have programs right now through our Center for Art and Community Partnership that match students deeply with nonprofit employers and other organizations. So this has always been a part of the ethos at MassArt, but this is an opportunity to really do it deeper and differently and think about how do we help our students get ready for what happens for them next when they graduate.
I mean, is there an understanding of what a co-op can guarantee you coming out of college? I would imagine that, I know just here from GBH, I've seen any number of interns over the years, including interns that have been on the shows that I've had, come to be employees because you have that investment. People see what your work ethic is, and they don't want anybody else to have you after you graduate, which is a great thing.
That's right.
And so do you have a sense of how you can place students into jobs? Because that's the other major issue right now, is people are maybe not enrolling at a Hampshire college or other places because they just can't justify the expense with the uncertainty.
Right. So with one of the things is that we know, so there's like the National Association of College and Employers or something like that, and they look at the data for this. And students who have experiential learning like a co-op tend to have higher degrees of satisfaction when they go to work. They have more mentors. I mean, so these are young alums coming out, more mentors because they understand how important that is. They have a network because that experience of a co-op, say for 6 months, gets you to understand the importance of working with others and building that. So the skill set that you develop there goes along with the skill sets you've developed with your academic program and the abilities that you're bringing. So the combination, Jared, of being prepared academically and prepared almost for the social humility part of what it takes to be successful in the workplace. And then employers so frequently will hire those great interns or those great co-op students because you've brought this person along. You're excited by watching their progression and you spot the talent.
Yeah. We've had two rock stars here on the Culture Show and then at Open Studio.
It's a wonderful way and it's also for students, a chance for them to experiment with something and maybe make the most important decision in their life that's not what they want to do. And so, and that's a success as well, too, because how do you know sometimes until you have the chance to try something on and see how it fits? So for the students to be able to say, you know what, I learned a lot from that. And one of the things I learned is that this isn't what I want to do. And the skills that we're finding in art and design education, as more people are looking at AI and the implications, our students who come to these practices with creativity, the ability to frame and articulate questions, the ability to discern and problem solve and look at things from different perspectives, they will be the ones that will be successful in this.
So this is as much about, I'm realizing as you say this, about educating the employers about the skill set that a mass art student brings that they might not think of because they're not coming out of a B school, for instance.
100%. I was just reading something about one of the high-tech wizards from, California who's predicting all the future. I mean, I'm blocking on his name right now, but he was basically saying the people who will be successful in this changing AI culture will be people who have vocational skills, who know how to make things with their hands, and artists, or people whose brains are wired differently. And I thought, we have artists who do incredible work. They also know how to make stuff. So, we don't take anything for granted, and we have to work really hard to be sure our students are getting an extraordinary education. But this degree is so valuable, and I love what you just said, because helping employers to understand what it means and why these folks are prepared in different ways for the changing environment.
Well, I look forward to continuing to talk to you about that and how that develops. Meanwhile, the Card to Culture program here in Massachusetts is really, again, despite all of these cuts, this is flourishing.
Yeah. And I love this because this is a long-term commitment. So the Mass Cultural Council, this program's a decade old at least or something like that, to be able to make accessible to individuals who are receiving welfare or WIC benefits or of low-income individuals, the opportunity to explore cultural venues across the state for sometimes no cost at all or significantly reduced prices, to take a class, to buy tickets to an event, open up the door for a whole family. So they just hit a milestone, and I love that they celebrated at the Children's Museum of the 3 millionth visitor who used this benefit. So over that period of time, think about the young people who had their eyes opened and maybe envisioned a better future for them. Think about the young families who are struggling, and this provides an opportunity on a Saturday to do something as a family grouping. I think it's another thing that sets Massachusetts apart. And what a value statement. And maybe one of those kids who came through it is on their way to Mass Art because they went into a museum and they said, what is this place? Now, we have our museum that's free all the time, but for ticketed events or theaters or plays, to be able to go and not break the bank or not feel like you don't belong there. And I think this is hugely important. And kudos to the Mass Cultural Council, every organization that's been part of this, and to the state for supporting this effort. It's a life-changing opportunity.
Well, Mary Grant, always great to have you here. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, but what are you reading right now? You always have great answers for what you're reading or watching.
Oh my gosh! So I have a couple of books because, and I'm sitting here. I'm like, so
I should have warned you because if you were to ask me, well, actually, I can tell you what I'm reading right now because it's for the show. But
yeah, and it's funny. I'm stacking up these books. Oh my! So I'll give you. A co-worker of mine just gave me a copy of the book, The Greatest Beer Run Ever. And it's based on a real story of a guy from New York who during the Vietnam War, he was in a bar with some friends and they had a conversation around their brothers overseas and somebody should go visit them. And so this guy who was a merchant marine got on a boat with beer and went to Vietnam. And it's the story of what he did. And, he was there in the Tet Offensive, other things like that. I'm halfway through it, and it's amazing that this guy made it through and made it back, and all of the adventures along the way. But it's the greatest, and I think it was a movie, but I'm reading it slowly, and it's a diversion, fascinating. And he showed up for his buddies in some really challenging places with a beer from New York for them.
This is why I love to ask you this question, because you always have something really great. In our crack control room, it says, yes, there was a film adaptation of it at the same name, which is The Great Beer Run in 2022, starring Zac Efron. Well, Mary Grant, thank you for the suggestion. Always great to speak with you. Until next one, thank you for being here.
Take good care. Thanks, Sharon.
Mary Grant is the president of MassArt and joins us regularly. Coming up, ahead of Patriots Day, we're venturing away from the Freedom Trail to explore the lesser-known sites of the American Revolution scattered across Greater Boston. Kiernan Schmidt, the author of Secret Boston, joins us for that conversation. He's next on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
Right-wing populists across Europe, what Viktor Orban did in Hungary has become something of a blueprint. But Hungarians just voted him out of office.
I think it's doubtlessly a major loss. I think we, again, have to be cautious just because the ascendancy of the global far right was not the result of Viktor Orban.
What that defeat means for the continent, next time on The World.
This afternoon at 3, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Concord Park, a Volunteers of America senior community in Concord, Mass., offering seniors the privacy and independence of their own apartment home, as well as care and support to help meet their needs now and as they age. ConcordPark.org. And M&M Skylights, located in Stoneham, installing and servicing the full range of Velux skylights that can help bring air and more natural light into homes. Skylight consultations can be scheduled at mmskylights.com. And Direct Federal Credit Union, a Needham-based financial institution providing loans, saving solutions, and financial wellness resources for members across every stage of life. Learn more by visiting direct.com. Direct Federal, member NCUA.
Whether you prefer to read, listen, or watch, however you get your news, the GBH News app is your home for real coverage of the issues that matter most. Download the GBH News app today on the App Store or Google Play.
I'm Jared Bowen. This is The Culture Show, live on 89.7 and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. Patriots Day brings history to life across Massachusetts with observances at dawn, militia musters, and the familiar story of revolution retold in Lexington, Concord, and Boston. But beyond those well-known rituals and landmarks, the remnants of the revolution can also be discovered in locales all across Greater Boston. From a gravestone marked by musket fire on Copp's Hill to a wartime bullet hole at Christ Church in Cambridge. They're the kinds of places that remind us the American Revolution is not just something we commemorate, it's something still embedded in the landscape around us. Kiernan Schmidt is the author of Secret Boston, a guide to the city's lesser-known sites and hidden histories. Ahead of Patriots Day, he joins us to take us beyond the Freedom Trail and into some of the overlooked corners where the revolution left its mark, literally, on Greater Boston. Great to see you.
Good to see you, too. Happy Patriots Day.
Happy Patriots Day. You survived St. Patrick's Day. That's when we last saw you.
Yes, absolutely. Now, this is going to be a much more chaste celebration.
Well, there was lots of ale.
And Sam Adams, famous son of liberty. Yeah, so you're right. Okay, you've convinced me.
Well, you mentioned Sam Adams, but your roster for us today has I think you're a little bit obsessed with George Washington. He's all over the place here.
Well, George Washington, he's like one of those 6 historical figures that seems to be everywhere, connected to every street corner, every historic building. So yes, he makes an appearance.
Well, it's funny that you say that because people love to talk about the fact that George Washington slept here, was here, but you have the evidence of all the places he actually was. We know he was there. So
Well, we have one apocryphal and then one confirmed.
Oh,
so
so
you can choose. Which would you like first?
let's go with the apocryphal.
Okay, good. That one's a little more fun anyway. So the apocryphal one is in Medford, Massachusetts, and it's called the Isaac Royal House. And folks might know it's most famous for the fact that it's the only freestanding slave quarters in the North. And I feel like, in the recent years, we've been acknowledging how much slavery was in the North. But what's interesting about the Isaac royal family, they had their fortune from sugarcane in Antigua. But they were deep, tried and true loyalists to the British crown. And so when revolutionary spirits started to show themselves, the Isaac royals decided to vacate. And so what did the revolutionaries do anytime a mansion became available? They went in, set up headquarters, stayed there. And the apocryphal story that you'll get on the tour is there's a room called the Marble Chamber. And the myth is that George Washington actually interrogated British prisoners in that room. And I feel like we often think of George as a little above, getting in the ring. But I like the idea.
It was kind of know that he could get down and dirty.
Exactly.
Like
We could do this the easy way or the hard way, George.
But it didn't happen.
No, well, we don't know. There's no real confirmed evidence, and it makes a good story. They do have documentation of several of his generals being there, Charles Lee, John Sullivan. So they actually occupied this house. But, George was just down the road in Cambridge Commons, so chances are he stopped by.
Well, sometimes if you want something done, you just have to do it yourself.
Exactly.
Especially if you know you have the talent. Well, should we go down the road then to Cambridge Common?
Absolutely. So a lot of folks know that the troops were stationed on Cambridge Common throughout the Revolutionary War. And there's a church there called Christ Church. And Christ Church was a Church of England church. And so it was the home to a lot of Tories and loyalists to the British Crown who were starting to make their way out of Cambridge, much like the royal family. And in the lead up to real martial action, revolutionaries were really getting upset and wanted to tear down Christ Church in order to make a statement. Tories not welcome here. We are going to separate and find independence.
Otherwise known as cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Exactly. And to George and Martha Washington, it was extremely important that they saved this church. So they had a sense of decorum. They didn't want to see the revolutionaries as sort of causing chaos. They wanted organization. And so they very cleverly said to their troops, we want to hold a service in honor of New Year's Day in 1774. So you can't destroy the church because we're actually going to have a service there. And so there is a pew marker there for where George and Martha sat. A lot of debate among historians about how truly religious they were. They weren't frequent churchgoers. And what's very funny is that Colonel Palfrey, who was one of the right-hand people for George Washington, got up and gave a speech that was supposed to be religious, but you may pick up the political undertones that made their way into this celebration. I'll just read a quick quote. Lord, our Heavenly Father, we beseech thee to look down with mercy upon His Majesty George III. Open his eyes and enlighten his understanding, that we may pursue the true interest of the people over whom thou in thy providence has placed him. Remove far from him all wicked, corrupt men and evil counselors. Be with thy servant, the commander-in-chief of the American forces. Grant that we may in due time be restored to the enjoyment of the inestimable blessings that we have been deprived of by the devices of cruel and bloodthirsty men, for the sake of thy Son, Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. So you might have just gotten a little bit of the politics in that prayer.
I would say so. It's interesting that we always talk about George Washington and where he was around here. We never hear about Martha Washington being with him.
Yeah, well, I don't think she was a frequent visitor, and she was back and forth, but in this case, she was by his side at Christ Church. And there's a special super secret place that if you do go to Christ Church, I want to point out, which is often when you enter through the front vestibule, the two doors into the main church will be open. If they're open, take the one to the right and close it, and you will see high up on a wall a little plaque and a hole in the wall. And the plaque says the bullet hole. And it's a bullet hole that does date back to the Revolutionary War. But they know nothing about who shot it, why it was there, was this just gunplay, was this somebody trying to break into the church. But what they do know is that the organ of the church was melted down for bullets for the revolutionaries.
Because it was barracks. The
That's
church
right.
was part of the barracks on
It
the
was
common.
used as barracks, correct.
And then moving forward, sorry to move away from your beloved George Washington, but another soon-to-be president, Teddy Roosevelt, that was a hangout for him.
That's right. When Teddy Roosevelt was at Harvard, he would teach Sunday school there. But the minister discovered that he was not a member of the Church of England and kicked him out. And so TR turned his back. TR, by the way, my favorite president.
Oh, is he?
Real Ted head. Not too many Boston sites about him, unfortunately.
Is that a thing, Ted head?
How
did I make it this far into life without
we're
realizing?
a whole society, yes.
So you've read the whole Edmund Morris trilogy.
Oh, you know it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have read them too, so maybe I'm a secret Ted head.
Absolutely.
Well, not so secret
Sometime
anymore.
we could do the secret TR sites around the United States. There's some great ones, including this July, a new presidential library in North Dakota.
Yes, because of course I love the fact. Now I'm going to completely derail us, but I love the fact that he would just disappear as president.
Oh yeah,
nobody
of
would
course.
know where he was.
Yeah, back then it was a part-time job.
Especially when you're going out west. I'm just yonder. I'll be back.
Exactly.
The country can take care of itself. I'm speaking with Kiernan P. Schmidt. Last month it was Patrick. That's your name for St.
It's
Patrick's
still
Day.
Patrick.
No, now it's Kiernan
Patriot.
Schmidt, the author of Secret Boston, An Unusual Guide. We're not completely leaving Washington because we'll go to Somerville's windmill turned powder house, which also has a connection to George Washington. Well, his troops and
the troops. So the Powder House, it's called Powder House Square today. It's right on the corner of Tufts, and the park that it's in is called Nathan Tufts Park. And any Somervillian is going to recognize it, but they might not know the history of it. So it dates back to the 1700s. It was a windmill, and then it was sold to the Massachusetts colony. And because it has these 2-foot wide stone walls, they took the mill equipment out and they used it as a powder house. And as revolutionary spirits were rising, some of the locals were starting to take gunpowder out of the powder house, and the governor of Massachusetts grew very nervous about this. So while he had planned to peacefully take the keys away from the locals, he eventually lost patience, and Governor Thomas Gage came with 260 British regulars and took charge of this the casks of powder that were stored in the powder house. And this led to the first great mass demonstration against the crown. And this was a full 7 months prior to the shot heard round the world. So again, I think we can think that the world kind of flipped like a switch, but there's a lot of these places that show this spirit was boiling. These problems were coming to us over many, many years to when that shot actually happened.
like anything throughout history, of course. True or false, there's a man probably not still trapped inside, but maybe there was a man trapped inside.
Inside the powder house?
Yeah.
Yes, the story is that before it was used for powder, when it was a windmill, that a woman who was being pursued by some sort of creep took refuge in the mill, and the creep came in and got caught up in the works and was ground to death by accident.
So we're probably thinking not so true.
Exactly. But I will say the powder house post-revolution also had a great story, which is it became the symbol for a pickle company that actually put the powder house on its label, the Old Powder House Pickle Jar Company. And they have jars. There are still a few antique jars in existence. Sadly, I don't have one. But if you go to see the powder house, do look at the rocks on the path as you walk up, and there's a few recreations of those pickle jars there.
Not, as you hilariously point out in your book, not from leftover from a party the night before.
Well, those tough kids do live very close by.
Speaking of those tough kids, I think one might be who's working in our control room is saying, according to a diligent Redditor, the center of Powderhouse Park is the only place in Somerville where you can legally bow hunt a turkey.
Oh, that might get into the second edition. I didn't know that.
So let's move to, this is a very interesting story, Copp's Hill Burying Ground. This is, for people who don't know it, it's right in the North End and very close to the Old North Church.
Yes, and it's very, it's elevated, and it's even less elevated than it was at the time of the Revolution because landfill was taken from it. But at the time, it wasn't a cemetery, and it was a really important strategic spot because you could see the harbor, you could see Charlestown, you could see Bunker Hill. And so the British took it over, aimed their cannons out. And there's a grave there where I apologize. It actually was a burying ground, but they took it over for strategic purposes, so it didn't function as that during the Revolution. And there is a revolutionary son of liberty who was buried there by the name of Daniel Malcolm. And Daniel Malcolm was one of the most outspoken critics of the British Crown. He took to smuggling to avoid the taxes that he thought were unfair. He actually brought 60 casks of wine onto the Boston Islands and then waited for night and brought them over and sold them and was very vocal about doing this. So how good of a smuggler are you if you're letting everybody know?
Go through it.
But he also went on the record calling out the British for seizing ships illegally, including one that he saw himself that belonged to John Hancock. So he was deeply hated by the British. But he died in 1769, so he never actually saw the revolution happen. But he did play his part because the British regulars, on most days you're not seeing action as you're stationed up there. And they actually used his grave for musket practice. And you can still see the pock marks on the grave today, even though there's a lot of weather wearing on it. Just sit for a second and stare at it, and you will see very clearly where those musket balls hit.
Well, I might go visit it tonight. We had Keith Lockhart on the show recently about his honor at the Old North Church. That's happening tonight, so I'll be walking right by it. Thanks for this tip.
And I will say also, if you go, it's very hard to make out the old writing on it, but I do love the inscription that his family put in 1769, which was an enemy to oppression and one of the foremost in opposing the revenue acts on America. So again, he was out there and proud.
Kieran Schmidt, as always, thank you so much for being here. He is the author of Secret Boston, An Unusual Guide. He is co-host along with Ryan Davis of the travel podcast Out of Office. Come to the Boston Public Library tomorrow where we will have our Week in Review show, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominees, and more. I'm Jared Bowen. Have a great day.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
Spend your afternoon with us. Stay with us for GBH's All Things Considered at 4 and Marketplace at 6:30. But first, The World, a global view of today's headlines from the World Newsroom, right here on GBH 89.7.
Support for our programs comes from you and Liberty Mutual Insurance. Liberty believes progress happens when people feel secure and exists to help people embrace today and pursue tomorrow. Learn more at libertymutual.com.
Slow it down. Take 5 and take in some jazz. Turn your room into a late-night jazz club with GBH Music Presents Jazz Now, tonight at 10 on GBH2.
I'm Arun Roth. Today on GBH's All Things Considered, Boston is getting its first ever Black Fire Commissioner, Rodney Marshall. As part of our Why I Run series, a wheelchair racer reflects on Bob Hall, who helped create the wheelchair division in the marathon and was a pioneer in wheelchair sports. And for more than 20 years, the U.S. has led the global fight against HIV through PEPFAR. Now its future is in question. Those stories and all the day's news starting at 4 on GBH 89.7.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org.